Hello, everyone! Blue Star Saber here with,
James S Cassidy.
and we're once again discussing Naruto. No,
Tuesday
this,
already?
yeah, no, this time it is not the Sasuke manga.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, let's see. I'd figured I'd wait a few more chapters before we actually discuss anything interesting. Before let's see, interesting that probably may or may not come up of it, and all that stuff. Maybe when that let's see special Naruto announcement in November is and that's coming up and all that stuff. Maybe then, and then we have an excuse to talk about it, but something else besides that. Because well, I'm pretty certain if I make you read it too much, you report that as torture. But yeah.
Right.
But anyway, but we're here to discuss something that I've been having an idea and wanted to do for a long time. I just had to wait until James was ready because he had an idea or slash theory in regards to it, and it's a sort of a question I've been having and thinking about when it comes to Akatsuki, is whether or not there should have been more members, or did the members that they had just not properly used correctly? In other words, I'm referring to, let's see, let me just share my screen a bit. Let's see, for everyone who knows, or at least who has read Naruto, these guys, the Akatsuki. I should point out that all these images are mine. They're from the images I've taken from my Naruto volumes, and have cropped and edited them and all that stuff. Granted, yes, doing manga and all that stuff belongs to Kishimoto. I'm not sure if they'll get in trouble for sharing this image or not, but I'm not. Let's see. I don't think it's that bad of a copyright, from my understanding.
Random factoid of the day: I have the same birthday as he done.
Okay, so you're a follower of the religion Jashin, then?
Bless you.
Though, funny enough, interesting, Kishimoto also shares a birthday with one of the members, Sasori, but this is the majority of the members, minus, like, say, Sasori and Orochimaru, but yeah. The Akatsuki... Sorry, what?
Do you have a favorite Akatsuki member?
Best written villain, Pain. Best looking villain for me, I think it would be just Kizame, I'd say. I kind of like Kizame, to be honest.
Kasame?
Yeah, Kasame.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Akatsuki. Now why this organ? Let's see. Hold on, let me just get back to StreamYard and remove that for now. I'll add it to the stream in a bit, but I'm just gonna just check. Now the Akatsuki, from my understanding, they were originally Kishimoto had them as monsters, I believe. But then I believe his editors told him that to do something else.
So basically, every other element in the story at this point.
Yeah, or at least let's see, or at least at some point, or as I told them that keep the organization but make them criminals. And funny enough, Itachi was not originally a member of the Akatsuki, but was added later and all that stuff. Now, before the Akatsuki, we mostly had let's see. We mostly had these two guys here. Well, this guy mainly here. Orochimaru as the main antagonist for the majority of part one. But by the end, towards the end of part one, we were introduced to the Akatsuki and some of their members, particularly, let's see if I can find them. No, oops, wrong image. Here we go. Itachi and Kizame were introduced right after the invasion of Kahona and all that stuff, and let's see, who were after Naruto, and it was revealed that, of course, Itachi was Sasuke's older brother, the person that he'd been looking for to, kill and all that stuff. Pretty much the character that defined his, let's see, plot in the story of Naruto and all that stuff. Of course, these members were these guys managed to easily beat most of like the elite Jonin that we had seen in Naruto, like Kakashi, Kurenai, Asuma, the teachers of our, main characters and side characters. And then Itachi beat up Sasuke, which resulted down his dark path in the thing. Now, why Kishimoto replaced Orochimaru with the Akatsuki? I think the main reason was, his part of the story was done with, and which is taking Sasuke out, and not to mention Orochi's, the hierarchy in Orochimaru's organization, the Sound Village, the Sound Five, the Sound Genin, Kabuto's fellow spies, and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Most of them were all wiped out pretty much by the end of part one.
Yeah.
And yeah, and in many ways, the Akatsuki sort of opened an opportunity to as a criminal organization that had rogue ninjas from all the other villages and all that stuff that we had not yet seen in Naruto, or we only briefly saw in Naruto. Got an idea, like this hidden stone village, which they were only antagonists in the in the Kakashi Gaiden and all that stuff, and like Kakazu from the Waterfall, Pain and Conan from the Mist. Villains like that. I mean, the Hidden Rain Village, but yeah. Mainly, it gave us an idea of exploring, ninjas from those villages without actually having to explore those villages. Now, whether or not that was a long-term mistake of not seeing those villages, that would probably be for another discussion, but yeah. Now, granted, the organization, of course, is a group of, 10, but the series mainly introduced them as, 9 members because Orochimaru turned out to be a former member, but of course fled the organization after his failed attempt of trying to steal Itachi's body. And this is the main reason why he went after Sasuke and all that stuff, to gain a power, because despite Orochimaru's power, he stood no chance, of course, of defeating Itachi, because the Sharingan Itachi's Sharingan was just a natural weakness against his abilities and all that stuff. But yeah, in many ways. But but one of the things that it kind of got to me about the Akatsuki is that while many of the members are strong, and that for the most part it'd be foolish to fight them in a one-on-one fight, one of the problems of having a group of just 10 or 9 member organization for the majority of your story is, given how large that Naruto's cast of friends are, there isn't just that much members. There's not enough members to go around fighting each other, fighting every single character in the series. Now, granted, that could have been solved with a bunch of team battles, but yeah. Well, granted, I have noticed that Kishimoto sort of does a sort of rule of 2, if you will, when it comes to his antagonists. I mean, it might not have been noticeable in part 1, but it's quite noticeable with the Akatsuki in part 2, because when the first antagonists we had were Zabuza and Haku.
Yeah.
Let's see. Zabuza was that mainly that. In many ways, this kind of worked early on because you had one of the 2 antagonists to fight the more powerful mentor characters. In this case, Zabuza versus Kakashi. While the more younger one would take on the young members Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. Well, mainly Naruto and Sasuke, because sadly Sakura didn't get to do much fighting. But yeah, and it wasn't really noticeable because the tuning exams was a big tournament, and you had the Sound Genin and the Sand siblings as a group of 3 antagonists and all that stuff. Though arguably you could say Orochimaru was the main adult antagonist fighting the third Hokage and the other teachers, while Gaara was the main young antagonist that fought Naruto and his friends, if you would. And it's sort of... Sorry, what?
Well, the sad part is about Orochimaru at the time was, and I don't think they realized this until we got after the Pain arc, but proclaiming that Orochimaru's and third Hokage's fight was Hokage level combat.
Yeah,
Seems kind of paltry compared to what happens later down the story road, but whatever.
yeah. Let's see. Now, in many ways, let's see. It was at the time regarded as the most powerful jutsus we saw, but I guess one of the downsides with a very long-running shonen series is that Naruto went a bit Dragon Ball, so it kind of made it look small in comparison to like the later fights, particularly the war.
Insert Bale's comment here.
Uh-huh. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and of course, you know, you had Itachi and Kizame for the first half of the Search of Tsunade arc, and then Orochimaru and Kabuto for the second half, in which Orochimaru fought Jiraiya and Tsunade for the most part, and Kabuto mostly fought Naruto and Shizune. That sort of thing. But yeah, and then of course there was the Sound Five, which mainly was a group for the Genin, and were most of like Orochimaru's elite fighters, but of course they're all dead, and the Akatsuki, and then all that's left of the Akatsuki, and which introduced probably the third member at the time that we knew of. Let's see, let me just see if I can find the image. Oops, no, not that one.
It's kind of interesting because if you think about it, each Akatsuki member could have been a supervillain in their own right.
Yes, in many ways they do have like their own personalities and all that stuff, and yeah, in many ways they do work as their own individual antagonists, and they all can hold an arc to themselves. It's just that they're all united under the banner for Akatsuki, and in many ways that did make them one of the most iconic antagonist groups in all of anime and manga and all that stuff. But yeah, the third member we were introduced besides Itachi and Kizame at the time was Zetsu, this mysterious Venus flytrap, and probably the closest to Kishimoto's concept of the Akatsukis being monsters.
Yeah, with followed by Kasame.
Yeah. Let's see, who, ironically enough, was a part of the same ninja group, swordsman group that Zabuza was a part of. Now, whether or not the Seven Swords, I can't recall whether or not the Seven Swordsmen of Mist was first referenced when all the way back with Zabuza or when Kizame came into the picture, but yeah. It kind of gave you an idea that the Mist had quite a few giant sword wielders at the very least. But yeah. But those are the three members that were mainly introduced, mostly just as a tease. Zetsu was mainly just as a tease. And granted, there was also the silhouettes of all the members of the Akatsuki at the time. One particularly teasing Pain and the Rinnegan eyes as this mysterious new person and like a third eye ability in the series, because we had mainly Sharingan and Byakugan at this point. But yeah. But now that we've gotten all that sort of like but the only other reason why I think the Akatsuki were probably introduced, so I should probably stop share screening now, is the main reason I think the organization was introduced is that, let's see, throughout most of part one, while Orochimaru was like a terrifying and powerful antagonist, he generally had no interest in Naruto. He was mainly interested in Sasuke.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in many ways, that arguably worked in part one because, well, Naruto was supposed to be the underdog that people didn't take seriously, and everyone was more paying attention to the last survivor of the Uchiha clan because, well, he was supposed to be this big elite and all that stuff. So yeah, he was the one that people had to watch out for, whether or not he would join the dark side, if you will, which he ended up doing. And once Orochimaru had that goal, he doesn't really have any reason to go back to Konoha besides his desire to destroy it. So the Akatsuki organization, whose main primary target is to target Naruto and who is a Jinchuriki who has hosted Ninetales and other individuals like him, who the Nine-Tailed Beasts, it puts more of the attention towards Naruto in a sense. Or at least it was supposed to. Whether or not, you think that Kishimoto was successful in that in part two remains to be seen. It's up for debate, I'd say. No, I think I know what your answer would probably be for that. But yeah, but it's pretty much draws, let's see, the attention towards Naruto. In many ways, it also, let's see, with like Itachi going after Naruto, let's see, it was like the straw that kind of broke the camel's back for Sasuke, because his entire life he's been hunting his brother, and the one person he's mainly set his eyes on isn't really interested in him, but rather than his rival Naruto, he sort of viewed as like a bit of a class clown, really, compared to him. And yet it's like my brother was after him and all that stuff, so that also fueled to the fire. But yeah. But also, of course, and that bit also led to Naruto also having a reason to go after the Akatsuki as well, besides the fact they're hunting him. Let's see, if he could somehow get to Itachi, he might have a chance of drawing back Sasuke, who he is after to rescue and all that stuff. But yeah. But then let's see, when part 2 first started, we were introduced to the art duo Dedera and Sasori, who were after Gaara and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, these two were very an interesting pair, if you will. Let's see, it kind of showed that, let's see, this amongst the members of the pair, there seemed to be a certain level of respect, but a certain level of hostility or clash of ideas between these two, because Dedra, you could argue, was more of the radical, and Sasori was more of the traditionalist when it comes to art. And I've seen many people compare them to whether or not this also might reflect the political beliefs as well, but let's see, but who knows? We don't really know where Kishimoto stands on the political spectrum, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, each of the partners were partnered up because they were kind of antithesis to each other.
Yeah.
You know, so like Sasori really couldn't fight Data or the opposite because their abilities were too much alike that they could counter each other, and basically be as you would say, it would be a stalemate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same with like Hidan and Kakuza, where they're both undead and they can't kill each other.
Yeah, even though Kakuzu would probably really like to kill Hidan at times.
Oh yeah, definitely. But he knew he couldn't do it, so it made sense.
Yeah. So pretty much, you had Data. Let's see, Dedera was which is a bit ironic because Sasori is actually from the Sand Village. Dedera was assigned by the Akatsuki to kidnap Gar and all that stuff, and thanks to Sasori's spies, they were able to infiltrate the village and all that stuff, with Dedera fighting Gaara in a one-on-one fight. And Gaara put a pretty good fight, but Dedera used his role as the Kazekage to, have him concentrate on saving the villagers rather than himself, allowing him to capture him despite the fact Gaara crushed one of his arms, sort of solidifying how dangerous a threat the Akatsuki was if they're able to capture someone on the level of a Kage.
Yeah, well,
sorry, what?
I mean, not only does it show the power of them, it also shows how far they're willing to go. And
Yeah.
that's usually the weakness of the good guys, is they're so busy protecting other people that they sometimes have to neglect protecting themselves, and that's basically what Gaara's downfall was. He probably could have beaten Datara, but because Datara was willing to blow up, basically nuke the entire village, you could win the battle but lose the war. So Gaara was kind of in a lose-lose situation on that one.
Yeah, despite having the natural advantage of the area and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's also probably in many ways Dedera's abilities are rather fitting for a terrorist mercenary organization. He has exploding clay. Which is often with explosions often associated with terrorist organizations.
No matter what they are.
Yeah. And then afterwards you had Kankuro trying to pursue and end up fighting Sasori, but of course now in the manga this was off screen. Anime you saw it on screen. And and in many ways this was the worst opponent for Kankuro, as it turns out that his puppet was created by none other than Sasori.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Wasn't
many
it
ways,
his first creations too?
Yeah, they were among his first creations, I believe.
Yeah.
Before he went into the art of human puppetry. So as a result,
Literally.
the members of the Akatsuki end up kidnapping him, Gara, resulting in the Sand calling for, let's see, the Leaf to help, and Tsunade choosing Naruto because he was the one with the most determination to save Gara. And this is also funny enough where members of the K11 start to understand that Naruto is a Jinchuriki, mainly Sakura, and that this group of terrorists are after him. Because later down the line, you also have Team Guy coming along the way and all that stuff. And during when Gaara is having his tailed beast extracted, you have Zetsu keeping out lookout, which results in forcing let's see, hold on, let me just nope. Let's see, let me find the image. Nope. I should have named all these. There you go. Oops, nope, that's Zetsu. Oops, no, that's much down later. Damn it.
Zetsu, the
walking spy camera. But yeah.
Yeah, but also the walking plot.
Yeah.
The walking plot.
But yeah, let's see. Now during this, you have the mysterious leader of the Akatsuki, though, that we know it's Pain, because of his Rinnegan eyes and all that stuff, but granted we don't know that yet. Deciding that he needs to create, in order to stop Team 7 and Team Guy from interfering before their plan extraction is complete, uses Kizame and Itachi to create fake replicas from the Akatsuki spies from the Sand Village in order to keep them busy and all that stuff. Now, of course, Hidan was willing to volunteer, but Kishimoto clearly wanted to save him for later, of course, which is probably the smart thing, to use the recurring members of the Akatsuki that we already know. As they end up fighting the members of Team Guy, Kizame fighting Team Guy because he had a past with Mike Guy because he kicked him once.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I said, yay!
Resulting in that sort of a rivalry between Guy and Kizame because Guy could never remember Kizame's name and face throughout the story, despite how...
Your own downfall.
Yeah. And Itachi, of course, encountering Naruto and Kakashi because, well, let's see, it's the most personal between those two. And it also lets Sakura know that, okay, this is the person who caused Sasuke a lot of problems and all that stuff. I should also probably mention that Chio is also with Team 7 on this bit because Sasori is her grandson and all that stuff. So that makes us sort of add a little personal conflict to the thing with one of the two main antagonists of this arc. Now, it's mostly... For the most part, you have Team Guy fully fighting Kizame, though Kizame eventually traps, Lee, Tenten, and Neji, though each had one attack against him from what I recalled in the manga. With Guy forcing to use the sixth gate, which we had not seen at this point, to defeat the fake Kizame. And you mainly had Naruto and Kakashi fight Itachi, with only Sakura and Chio helping Naruto out when he was trapped in a genjutsu. And Naruto, end up killing the fake Itachi, which is, at that point, the only kind of kill you saw the main character in the series do, which was kind of surprising in a sense. Since, shonen characters tend to try and shonen manga tend to try and avoid their main character killing people.
Yeah. That's interesting because these clones only had 30% the power that the originals had.
Yeah, in many ways, that was a good way of keeping the hype of these fakes. It's they're fakes. You get a glimpse of their abilities, but it's not them at their full power.
Yeah.
And it also implies that these two are more of the stronger members. Sorry, go on.
It's like saying because the easy mode is just as harsh. Even just if it was difficult, the characters are this is so difficult to fight, and it took everything we had to beat them, and this is only them at 30% power.
Yeah.
Imagine facing 100%, and then it's...
Yeah. And in many ways, it also gets Sakura to more understand Naruto's situation. People like Sakura to understand Naruto's situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's you've got guys like this after him. Yeah. Eventually, of course, Gaara gets the tailed beast extracted, and the art duo end up splitting up to, let's see, when it comes to trying to capture Naruto, because Dedera, our favorite artist, our favorite exploding artist, if you will, wanted to fight Naruto by himself because he heard how strong he was, apparently. So he took Gaara's thing, which resulting in, like, let's see Team 7 splitting up with him and Kakashi versus Dedera in the chase, while Sakura and Chio were left with dealing with Sasori. I should also mention that, let's see, during this, Team Guy was busy occupied with fake replicas of themselves. Another power of the leader to show that you can even create replicas of, like, themselves. Granted, they ended up fighting off-screen. Though you could see how they fight in the anime if you want. I believe episode 28 or 26, maybe? I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched Shippuden. But yeah, you mainly had Dedera, fighting Naruto and Kakashi, though it was mostly a chase. But you mainly had Sakura and Chio versus Sasori, which is arguably one of the best fights in the series, and arguably Sakura's best fight, and sadly, only major fight besides her team up with Naruto against Kakashi in the beginning of part 2, or at least her main solo fight, if you will. But it was a hell of a fight, and in many ways, it was voted the third best in the third data book, behind the Dedera and Itachi battles that Sasuke had. But yeah. But we mainly learned pretty much all we could about the art of puppetry with this fight, like the human, Sasori's human puppetry, where he would empty, like, the bodies of the blood, organs, and skin, and all that's left of the skin and their chakra, implant it into his puppets, and he can mimic their abilities, and which he did to the third Kazekage. And in many ways, we also learned that he was also the original partner of Orochimaru when he was in the organization, and this is most likely done because this is so that we could set the next arc to pursue, like, Sasuke and all that stuff. Eventually, Sakura and Chio are able to kill Sasori, mostly because, Sasori had a little bit of his humanity left that he hesitated when seeing his puppet parents, killing him and all that stuff, though some like to dismiss this as like, oh, Sakura and Chio never beat Sasori, but a win's a win.
Yeah, but Chio also said that Sakura could have taken on Sasori all by herself.
Yeah.
So, despite that, Sakura was also trying to keep Chio safe the entire fight, so there's no really telling beyond what people say that could give credence to whether or not Sakura could have taken on Sasori solo, other than Chio saying that she probably could have, but also being a handicap. Because I hear a lot of people saying that, like, oh, if Chio wasn't there, Sakura would have been impaled multiple times by puppets. Maybe, but like I said, Chio says that if she wasn't there, Sakura probably would not have been able to hold back.
Yeah. In many ways, initially Sakura did need Chio in the fight because, well, Chio's experience against Sasori and his puppets would be the main, would be the thing that she lacked at the time.
Yeah, but she did have awareness of his poison,
which
she deconstructed, which even to Sasori was considered an incredible feat. That not many people could have made an antidote to his poison other than Tsunade.
Yeah. I know some people also like to try and dismiss Sasori as like one of the weakest Akatsuki members, but even Dedera points out that Sasori is probably stronger than him. Not to mention, he did kill the third Kazekage, which was regarded as the strongest Kazekage.
Yeah,
and
turned him into a puppet.
Yeah. Now, granted, we never really see how he killed the third Kazekage, but my guess, he most likely did poison, but fair enough. He did that. But meanwhile, you had Naruto and you had Naruto and Kakashi chasing Dedera, and this lasted a while until Kakashi revealed to have his own Mangekyo Sharingan and an ability called Kamari to knock out Dedera's other arm, and Naruto punches him in the face, going a bit of Two-Tails mode as a result of his anger at the loss of, Gaara. Eventually, Gar gets cornered by Team Guy and fakes his own death by exploding. And let's see, seemingly appears to have died besides a sorcery, but it turns out he survived. And then ends up being partnered with a character we know as Toby at this point, who is rather a comedic fool, as a sort of the first and only official replacement to one of the 9 members of the Akatsuki at the time.
You know what's really sad?
What's that?
The thing about Toby is
What's that?
everyone debated for the longest time always asked who Toby really was. And there were a lot of theories. And people always hated the fact that it turned out to be Obito the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And all I could say was, but I want you to all aware of something that it was kind of staring us in the face and nobody knew.
I think some people initially guessed it, but over time, when the whole Madara stuff came in, that kind of died down a bit. But when it came back, it was like, okay, oh, this is exciting. Oh, let's have it as anyone else but besides Obito. But yeah, well, at least some people were. But yeah, but it made most sense of why it would be him. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next arc after this, but I suppose before that, so from what we have discussed from those, 5 members, would you say that the Akatsuki were used quite well in this arc?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. You introduced 2 members, and for the most part, you got an idea of what they could do. Granted, mainly with Deadwa's fight against Gaara. Granted, you didn't really see him fight much with against Naruto and Kakashi, but they already had their fight against Itachi, really. Well, the fake Itachi earlier. And it's clear that Deadwa was being saved for later.
Yeah.
And Sasori had was the main battle against, was clearly the main antagonist for this one, fighting against Sakura and Chiyo. While Kizame you had setting up with his rivalry with Guy and all that stuff. Zetsu was clearly the one that you had for spying, recording, and cleanup. Let's see.
Do you want to know something interesting?
What's that?
Do you remember when Orochimaru was a member?
Yeah.
And after he got his hand cut off, he still kept the ring?
Yeah.
Do you remember why that was?
Let's see. Because apparently they needed the rings to use in order to extract the tailed beasts or something.
Well, they needed the rings to connect to the Gido Mazo.
Yeah, they needed the rings to connect, and the more ring bearers there were, the faster the extraction was.
Right.
But the fastest they can do was apparently 3 days.
Yeah, but Orochimaru purposely did that. You realize?
Yeah.
He was purposely trying to stall the Akatsuki because they would have succeeded a lot faster.
Yeah.
If Orochimaru didn't secede from the group.
Yeah. And apparently this is also one of the in-universe reasons for why they waited, 2 or 3 years to try and, capture Naruto despite an initial encounter, apparently. It's because they needed to prepare the extraction. And besides Gaara, they had already sealed 2 Jinchuriki and all that stuff. Now, depending on how you view it, if you go by the anime's canon timeline, those first Jinchuriki ended up being Han the 5 Tails and Fu the 7th Tails, because they did a sort of filler tuning exam arc to say, okay, this is how all the K11 became tuning just before Naruto arrived back in the village, despite the fact that in the data books, they apparently became tuning 1 year after Naruto had left.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, consistency in Naruto is not always well known, particularly towards the later end of the series.
Never is.
But yeah. Now, anyway, the next arc doesn't really, deal with, the Akatsuki. It's arguably the only one that doesn't. Instead, it introduces a sort of different antagonist, if you will. No, not that one. No. Let's see, I've got these somewhere. No, I have it somewhere.
Should have labeled these.
Yes, I should have labeled these. Hold on a second. Let me just. I'm going to close some of these images down. Uh, no, let's see. Just get rid of the ones I don't need now. Let's see, the art do I don't need them. But yeah, don't need sorcery. Let's see. Yeah, next time I should have totally labeled these. My fault, my absolute fault here. No, you're here somewhere. Let's see. Pretty much, we're introduced to like a. Here we are. Found the image. Let's see this image. Just get to Stray. Let's see StreamYard. Back to sharing. This guy Danzo. We're pretty much introduced to Danzo, sort of like the darkness of Cajon, if you will. And ironically, who eventually ended up, funny enough, playing a huge role in many of the origins of the Akatsuki's backstories, if you will, one way or another. But pretty much, let's see, an antagonist, if you will, with inside the Leaf Village. And who also had an association with Orochimaru and later turned out to be Kabuto, because, well, the next arc pretty much revealed that we would be going after Orochimaru because, well, let's see, Kishimoto needs to reintroduce Sasuke. In which, also during this course, we are introduced to two new characters with Yamato and Sai. Let's see, Naruto has a clash against Orochimaru in his Four Tails form. Well, Kabuto gets knocked out during that, but we also learn that Kabuto was apparently a spy to Sasori. But let's see, but he had his control of him broken free by Orochimaru and pledged his loyalty and all that stuff. And when he learned that Sasori was killed by Team 7, he decided to let them live, even heal Sakura when she got injured. And after when Sasuke tried to kill Team 7, or at least was attempting to, looks like he was about to, Orochimaru and Kabuto sort of intervened, really, and prevented him, saying that it's best to keep Team 7 alive to have them deal with more members of the Akatsuki, and it would prove beneficial to him because the less Akatsuki members there were for Sasuke to deal with, the easier it is to find his brother and kill him.
Yeah.
Now these two are not really active members of the Akatsuki, but how would you feel they were used in this in the second arc?
After this point, I thought they were kind of wasted.
Fair enough.
So, I mean, I get it with the first couple ones, like you take out because they're essentially ones, and like as people would say, it's probably like the weaker of the several ones. I don't know, but I knew that if you're gonna make this organization that's a threat, you got to make them actually feel like an organization. If Orochimaru was able to have his own faction, essentially, with all his underlings beneath him, why couldn't the other Akatsuki members?
Let's see. That is a fair point. Now, granted, we did know that Sasori had a spy network of subordinates, but we only saw two of them, and they end up just being used to create replicas.
Yeah.
And sort of like that. But that was mainly it, really. Now, granted, you had Kakuzu with his association with the underworld and all that stuff, but we didn't really get more into that.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, Pain had the entire Rain Village under his control and all that stuff, but we'll get back more to that later. But, yeah. But
even if they had all these resources, they never really used them.
Yes.
So I think it was a waste of potential not to use as much resources as they could, given the fact that this is their whole point.
Granted, I would probably also say one problem is that, let's see, one of the problems that I mentioned at the end of part one is that most of Orochimaru's power base had seemingly, well, been gone and all that stuff, and, well, Kishimoto made no attempts to replace it. I mean, granted, we know in the anime, they did a Three Tails arc in which, let's see, you had Orochimaru, gather a few of his prisoner experiments, as well as one of his former candidates to be a host. Let's see, I think Yuki or something? I don't know, someone that has a crystal-style Gekkei Genkai to try and capture the Three Tails to stop the Akatsuki, but...
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, but that was filler, so it was like not much done with that. But it does feel like Orochimaru's power base.
What is filler?
Let's see, episodes that don't really matter to the overall plot and just there to pad time and all that stuff. That's my basic understanding.
Yeah, Gura and that girl.
Let's see.
Or no, wasn't it he?
Yeah, Yuki Maru, I think. I think that was his name. I don't know, something Yuki Maru and all that stuff. I think some people theorize that he might have had some connection to the Three Tails Jinchuriki, but based on appearance-wise, but I don't know, they never really confirmed something because, well, it was a filler character and people didn't really care about filler characters.
Well, I think they cared about this one because Hinata became a damsel in distress because of her.
Oh, yeah.
If it involves Hinata, now all of a sudden everybody in the Naruto fandom cares.
Yeah. But yeah. In many ways, I also feel like let's see, one thing that's in this arc, besides maybe not having Team Yamato fight Sasuke properly, is one thing I feel like was a missed opportunity was when Kabuto was going to fight, let's see, Yamato, Sakura, and Naruto. Okay, granted they did a little bit in the anime, but that ended up having some sort of bees, I believe. I mean, that was like, why the heck is that? Why not just have him fight those three for a little while longer? Let's see, but of course in the manga, Sai ends up restraining him before the fight begins. But I do feel like perhaps if Kishimoto did 1 or 2 chapters of Kabuto fighting these lot, you could have arguably set up some rivalries or future relationships between these three and Kabuto, particularly like, Sakura and him, since they're, both medical ninjas. But yeah. But anyway, but yeah, it's probably time to now talk about our next duo of the Akatsuki, the immortal duo, Hidden and Kakuzu.
Probably my 2 favorite characters in the Akatsuki members.
Yeah, let's see. They have quite a funny dynamic because of all the duos, this is the one that has the most hostile relationship between one another.
And yet they work so well together.
Yeah. I mean, Itachi and Kizume are the ones that arguably get along the most, despite being from different villages. Pain and Carl get along well because, well, they're childhood friends. And, well, let's see. Pain is more of like Colin's more like a follower to Pain. Dada and Sasori, kind of hostile, but kind of have a sort of mutual special relationship with each other. They just don't like it when the other keeps the other waiting then they just clash when it comes to their beliefs in art. And Zetsu, well, they seem to get along, though. The black one seems to scold the white one whenever he says something stupid. But these two are just downright hostile.
Yeah.
And arguably...
It was like, if I didn't... It's almost like they would like bicker and argue with each other. Like, if I knew that I couldn't kill you, I would kill you.
Yeah, and it's arguably why apparently Kakuzu is partnered with Hidon, because apparently, with a little backstory we did get of Kakuzu, is that apparently he has had multiple members as his partners, but he got so angry with them that he eventually killed them in rage. And then took their hearts to use for his own abilities.
Yeah.
But here we had Hidon, who's apparently the newest member of the Akatsuki before Toby. Now, how new he was remains to be clear. Though some say that his Shillerette from 2 years ago, that was his Shillerette 2 years ago and all that stuff. So that might have been him. But whether or not how long that Hidon has actually been, he's still regarded as the newest member. before Toby was, of course, and as a result, doesn't quite know everything about the organization, but of course joins it because he figured it could help it benefit his own goals of like doing the will of Jashin. As interesting, Hidan is the only ninja we know from like the Steam Village, or I don't know, that became a sort of hot springs tourist resort, and apparently this is his backstory from the third data books. When his village gave up being ninjas, he threw a bloody rampage around his neighborhood, killing all the neighbors there, then joined the occult Jashin and all that stuff, and ended up, spreading about until he encountered the Akatsuki who recruited him. So it's like that. And due to the fact that in many ways, you could argue that Hidan is also another aspect of what you often see with terrorism and all that stuff. With the extreme beliefs in religion, if you will. While the Kakuzu represents arguably one of the other things, money, payment, mercenary work, and all that stuff. Because many terrorist organizations, of course, were hired and paid to benefit countries of destroying their enemies, only to turn on them much later and all that stuff. We've seen that quite a few times throughout, the history and and all that stuff. I believe the Cold War was like the perfect example of like terrorist or mercenary and terrorist organizations being trained by the two great powers at the time, only to turn on them in the following, decades and all that stuff.
I always find it interesting that Kakuzu is actually the Akatsuki's treasurer.
Yeah.
He's the money manager.
Yeah. Now we're introduced to these two by them fighting Yukito Ni, the Two-Tails Jinchuriki. Well, we only see her transform into the Two-Tails, and then she's defeated off-screen and all that stuff. Granted, this is arguably to try and hype up the Akatsuki members, these two members, as we get a glimpse of Hidan's, Jashin form and all that stuff. But it does sort of shows a bit of a tragedy of the fact that the Jinchuriki, it seems, were not getting the development or interactions with Naruto that we were expecting at this point. But yeah. Eventually they decide to, since they've apparently captured both their Jinchuriki, because in the anime it was revealed that Kakuzu was assigned to capture the Seven Tails. That was also captured off screen. So they decide that let's go for a third one, and they decide to go after Naruto and all that stuff. During which interesting, they don't actually know where Naruto is hiding right now, which you think would have been a bit obvious. It'd be the Leaf Village.
Practically had signs.
Yeah. Instead, they end up with they're not really hidden villages these days, are they? I guess that's what happens when you have had like 3 world wars related to ninja. I mean, there were probably hidden villages at one point, but well, the wars probably made them a lot less hidden. But yeah. But Hidden and Kasuku, in order to set up, the upcoming fight against Asuna, they end up attacking this place called the 12 Ninja the Ninja Monks Temple and all that stuff, revealing that there are actually other ninja organizations within the Land of Fire besides the Leaf Village, which I do find interesting because the villages were supposed to be the main military organization, but apparently there are other sort of like ninja locations in the Land of Fire, which I suppose would make sense for it to have a much larger military, with the Leaf being its central one, but still. It's a bit of world building that Kishimoto probably should have explored a bit more. But yeah, they end up killing, the guy, the main monk there, who was a part of the same group Asuma was, leading to Asuma, a part of along with Shikamaru and those 2 Leaf Chunin that we usually see now and then. Izumu and Kuzumo, I think their names are. I know it's been a while since I've read Naruto. So they end up being one of the teams, along with Choji and Ino with like two other like Leaf Jonin and all that stuff. Let's see, end up being a part of these platoons hunting down, and Asuma's the one that gets first with them fighting Hidan. Let's see, mainly them fighting Hidan, but of course, I'm just gonna stop sharing at this point because I think we see the idea of the image is pretty obvious. But yeah, they end up fighting Hidan in a bit, and eventually, let's see, after learning that Hidan's immortal by either stabbing him or cutting off his head, and eventually Kakuzu joins the fight, taking out those two Chunin, well, not killing them, but still. Let's see, Asuma dies, leading to the setup of, let's see, Shikamaru and Team 10 to pursue revenge down the line, because before they could, they end up being extracted by, of course, the Akatsuki. Hidan and Kasuku were told to retreat because besides Yukito was being captured, in the manga, you also had Dedora and Toby, who are now a duo, who ended up capturing the Three Tails. That was, let's see, the only tailed beast that would not have a Jinchuriki at the time. That we'd learn later down the line but of course. Resulting in 6 days. So you had Team 10 with then Kakashi deciding to pursue Hidan and Kakuzu, with Team Yamato eventually backing them up later, but before that, Naruto needed to complete the Rasen Shuriken training. During the fight against Hidan and Kakuzu, we end up learning that Kakuzu is actually one of the oldest characters in the series and actually fought the first Hokage. Eventually, Hidan gets separated by Kakuzu by Shikamaru, with Kakuzu taking on, let's see, Kakashi, Ino, and Choji. Let's see, Shikamaru gets Hidan to kill one of Kakuzu's remaining, let's see, hearts left, because Kakashi killed one earlier, and let's see, Kakuzu ended up revealing to be, and then let's see, have 5 hearts, and each heart had, let's see, planted in this sort of masked creature-like thing, which allows them to use one of the 5 elements, if you will. Sort of going back to that sort of theme of monsters with the Akatsuki, if you will.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Eventually, Shikamaru defeats Hidan, and Kakuzu ends up fighting Naruto. Let's see, and with a little support of Yamato, as well, Team Yamato arrived, but of course, Sai and Sakura went to assist Shikamaru, but Shikamaru had already beaten Hidan. And then Naruto eventually beated Kakuzu with the Rasen Shuriken, ending that sort of fight. And that bit of the story. So, with that bit, how do you think the members of the Akatsuki were used that we saw, mainly the 2 duo? Did you think they were used properly, or do you think there was a few missed opportunities there?
Well, going back to what I previously said, I think there's a lot of missed opportunities that they could have did. It seems kind of I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put it this way. It goes along with my theory down the road that we're gonna get to. That it's not the fight itself that was the problem. It's the fact of when it takes place. And I think I think a lot of these members, especially after Sasori, gets taken out and Datara barely makes it out alive, that I think it all became wasted potential.
Wasted potential, fair enough.
Yeah.
Wait, let's see, after which one member did you say?
Sasori.
Sasori.
So, like, when Sasori essentially gets taken out and Datara barely escapes with his life, I think they could have did something better for the characters after that. Because you're talking about an organization that really had no equal until this group of people came along. You know? And you could have had a moment where, okay, well, we underestimated everybody. Well, after the first member dies, they should have just been like, okay, we're not going to play dumb anymore this time. We underestimated them once, and then we're never going to underestimate them again.
And I take it, you of course, like Naruto and all his friends, but they ended up doing that with Hira and Kakuzu.
Yeah.
I mean, you did have Deidara try to warn them, but they seemed to not listen.
No. But I just felt like some of them were taken out way too easy.
Let's see. Now, apparently, I think, let's see, one explanation apparently I can say for this is apparently, let's see, I think apparently from a video I saw from a YouTuber called Naruto Explains, and apparently the reason why the Hira and Kakuzu arc seemed a bit rushed towards the end is because apparently Kishimoto had back pains at the time, forcing him to wrap it up sooner, but if he didn't, he would have explored the backstories of Hidden and Kakuzu, and I've already mentioned Hidan's. And Kakuzu is apparently that he was once a loyal ninja to the Hidden Waterfall, but let's see, but when he failed his assigned mission to kill the first Hokage, he was labeled a disgrace and enraged, killed the elders of his village, stole their hearts, and the forbidden jutsu that would be his main fighting thing, and became a rogue ninja. In many ways, it's like interesting because, in a sense, Kakuzu was arguably, you could argue, a patriot. Let's see, for his own village at the time. But let's see, but when they turned on him, let's see, he became furious and then only relied on money as like a source of income, and saying that was the only thing you could really trust in the end, because money talks.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It just that seems to be a common trope with this series. Is like we kind of rushed it to get to a certain point, or the editors decided he told him he should wrap it up, and then now you got these weird stuff.
Mm-hmm. But interesting. Apparently, if it wasn't wrapped up, apparently Kakuzu was supposed to fight a combined group of Team Yamato and Team 10, apparently. And in many ways, this is probably arguably the thing that led to many of the side characters being completely ignored later, and even some of the main cast. I mean,
yeah, which a lot of this could have been saved for the war arc.
Mm-hmm. But like,
all this stuff could have been taken since the war arc started.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wouldn't have felt like the war is over in one day. It would have felt like it'd take months or even years.
Mm-hmm. But you have to admit, it does seem a bit weird that Kakuzu, a person who fought the first Hokage, ends up not commenting at anything at all with someone like Yamato there, who has the wood style of the first Hokage.
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
But that was one of the things that was a missed opportunity there. But it's also like, on one hand, this could also have been a good opportunity to solidify Team Yamato as like Naruto's new team and all that stuff. Because, the last arc, you had them not really working together, really, mainly because of the conflict between Sai and Naruto and Sakura. But after that, they resolved their issues. I mean, they briefly fought Sasuke, but they were no match for him. But in this arc, you could have seen them working together as a team and showing each of what they could do with their moves and all that stuff. And then you could still have Naruto win with the rest saying Shuriken at the end, but you could have seen them all working together as a team and all that stuff. I think if this sort of happened, you would have gotten more people getting behind some of these newer characters, as well as some of the old ones and all that stuff, showing that they weren't being left in the side tracks. But interesting, Kakuzu's abilities with the elemental masks does kind of make up for the fact that, let's see, you had few members of the Akatsuki there.
Well, I don't think the size of the Akatsuki is the problem. I just think of how they were used.
Mm-hmm. But the masks do kind of deal with the number issue for a bit. That is one thing they could have done with. I mean, it's like you could have had, even if you didn't want to have, let's see, everyone fight each other. You could have split up the members fighting an individual mask, even if it's just for one chapter, or at least have them fight the masks a bit before they all go into side Kakuzu and all that stuff. But at the very least, have Sai and Sakura actually back up Shikamaru against Hidan, not just have Shikamaru just take out Hidan by himself.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I think became a bit problem with this arc is the fact that the whole point of the Akatsuki was that, they could not be defeated in a one-on-one fight, as we saw with Kankuro and Gaara. Oh yeah, one thing I should probably have mentioned in the Katakage arc. The only thing I could say that's a problem with that one is the fact that Tamari didn't get to do anything. The only thing I think you could have done to include her is have her go with Team 7 and Chio and have her help Naruto against Dedera. All that stuff. Or if you really wanted to build more of the Shikaten relationship, you could have had Tamari come along here and all that stuff. But yeah, just wanted to forgot that bit there, just bring it up. But yeah. But with like Shikamaru taking down Hidan by himself, that kind of threat was gone. At the very least.
Maybe.
Or at least it's like, okay, now they can actually be taken down by more than just one person and all that stuff. Or they can just take them down by one person. But anyway, I think but anyway, I think it's time we probably go to the next arc in which we end up learning that Sasuke finally betrays Orochimaru, and as a result, ends up forming his own team with Taka, if you will. Now, granted, now the members of Taka who their relationship with Akatsuki will go down on a bit later, but in many ways, now Kishimoto finally actually revealed that Orochimaru did have a few more surprises installed, but they were more for like Taka. Now, granted, I'm told that Yahagi ended up telling Kishimoto that having Sasuke by himself wouldn't be all that interesting, so it's best to have him interact with a certain group of characters, and that's why Taka, as they're known here, Herbie or Snake, if you will, were created. And to be fair, he did do a good job of tying in like to some pre-existing characters, particularly with Sugetsu and Jugo. Jugo being the origins of the curse mark, and and all that stuff that Orochimaru gave to like the Sound Five and Sasuke. And the reason why he ended up being loyal to Sasuke is because, well, Kimimaro was the only one that could restrain him and all that stuff. And he didn't trust, and apparently Kimimaro considered Sasuke his natural successor and all that stuff. So Jugo decided to follow him. While Sugetsu turned out to be a protege that tried to a student of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist who aspired to be one of them, and wanted to join Sasuke because, well, since he's hunting Itachi, Kizame is his partner, so the former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, so by going with him, he can face Kizame and claim a sword. But before that, he ends up taking Zabuza's sword, as we see here. And now I don't know what the hype was for these characters at the time or what people made of them, but from what I understand is that with Zugetsu, he was considered the second coming of Zabuza, which I'm not sure if that caused a bit of hype because Zabuza was a very beloved antagonist, one that gave Kakashi a hard time.
Should we consider these guys the Akatsuki members?
What, these four?
Yeah.
Well, not yet. Let's see. Well, we'll probably get to that when we do. But yeah, this is the group that was. But yeah, but this would be one of the three factions that we would have in the arc. Let's see, Taka, the Kahona lot with Naruto, with like Team Yamato, Kakashi, and Team 8, because, well, Kunai is currently is pregnant and all that stuff, so she's not active. So they form an 8-man squad and all that stuff, with those three being the trackers, in order to try and capture Sasuke or Itachi. So it's sort of like a three-way race. And which, led to some sort of, mystery. I should mention Karin. It's the only one whose backstory we did not know at the time, only that she had a interest in Sasuke, which led to some people saying, like, oh boy, not another fangirl, but I would say, unlike the other two, unlike Ino and Sakura, we did actually see Karin be a bit vocal towards Sasuke, I'd say. And during this, let's see, Kizame ends up capturing the four tails, and at this point, we learn that at least 7 of the tailed beasts have been captured, and there's only 2 left. Let's see. And they need to go after the 9 tails last at this point now, because if they don't, the Gedo statue will break and all that stuff, which makes you wonder why on earth why they had all those previous attempts against Naruto, if they needed him to be last Jinchuriki.
I don't know.
But, yeah.
Maybe preparation, an opportunity, just to grab them.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair, to be honest. But the members of Akatsuki end up learning that Orochimaru, besides Hiden Kakuzu being dead, Orochimaru is apparently being killed by Sasuke, who absorbed him and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to distinguish something from actual purposeful plot element to just kind of Kishimoto doing what he was to stall the plot in some way.
That is true.
I mean, really, why go after Naruto if they can't really pull the Jinchuriki out of him until after they get the other ones? And why is the Nine Tails stronger than all the other ones combined? We don't know.
Yeah.
They just are. It just is. And it's just,
It's clearly some things that Kishimoto did not think out well, but yeah. But they're seeing that Sasuke pursuing Itachi as a bit of a threat to their operations, discuss how to deal with them, with Deidara volunteering to go after both Naruto and Kakashi or Sasuke, whichever one he can find to first at the time. And when Naruto... Sorry, go on.
Well, I was thinking, I would rather think that maybe they could have extracted the Nine Tails anytime they wanted to, but it just would have been easier and quicker if they got the other ones first. So imagine, if you will, okay, if you capture the one tail, then it's 3 days to extract it.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Now, if you were to do the 9 tails first, it would take 27 days straight to extract it.
Fair enough. Saying the more tails the beast has, the longer it takes to extract it.
Exactly. But if you already have the power of the other tailed beast, then it shortens the time. It divides the time up. So if you had all the other 8 tailed beasts, then it would only take maybe a day to get the 9 tails. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting explanation. That you could have extracted any tailed beast at any time. It's just depending on which one you grab is how long it reduces the time.
But yeah. But anyway, Deidara is in pursuit of either Sasuke or Naruto. Now, which one he gets first? But at this point, the 8-man squad has split up into teams. Mainly, I think you had, let's see, Kakashi by himself. Let's see, Sakura with, I believe Kiba, Sai with Shino, and Naruto with Yamato, and let's see, Hinata and all that stuff, as well as Kakashi's ninja hounds and all that stuff to help them search, which had a brief encounter with Karin and Sakura, arguably maybe setting up something between them, but let's see, we'll never really know in the end, but or just a coincidence.
It was a waste.
But yeah, but you had let's see, but it was revealed that you had 2 silhouettes, between Sasuke and Naruto, and you figure out which one is Toby and Deidara and which one is this mysterious thing. And in the end up being, for Sasuke, he ends up, no, wrong one. He ends up encountering Deidara, and they end up fighting for a bit.
Yes. And this is where we got the arguably one of the first ass pulls in the story.
Yes, the Great Snake Escape. One of the most infamous survival of explosions in the thing, though. I will be honest, despite how bad it was, I feel like of all the characters surviving explosions, I feel like it's the least offensive.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, mostly because the other ones I can think of is like Pell from Alabaster, who flew up in the sky, blow up, and then turned out to survive later with no explanation. And the other one I can think of is, let's see, in Fairy Tail, when you had that one demon that caused explosions fighting Natsu, and then you had Happy take him in the sky. Also blew up, but Happy survives and gets an afro, and it's like,
well, that's the anime logic. Is if you don't see it happen, it must not be true.
But yeah, now granted, but yeah, you pretty much had Sasuke and Deidara fighting for a bit, and with Toby assisting, and
Actually, the whole fight was crap.
let's see. Well, during the fight, you learn that the reason that Deidara was not actually a willing member of the Akatsuki to join. It was a young terrorist who just blew up because he just wanted to blow up stuff with his art. With then Itachi making a deal saying that if Deidara could beat him, he can go free. But if he wins, Deidara is forced to join the organization. And Deidara, easily defeated by Itachi's Genjutsu, angered, vowing revenge one day against Itachi, wishes to beat him. And the reason why he's fighting Sasuke is because he wants to use him as warm up for his eventual battle against Itachi.
And somehow invents an eye patch that allows him to fight against Genjutsus.
Yes.
Somehow, but
yeah,
whatever.
It's one of the few tidbits of tech you actually see in the Narutoverse, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The fight was so weird.
But yeah, in many ways.
How electricity can affect ground attacks.
Yeah, well, apparently it was explained in that let's see during the elements thing that fire is weak against water, water is weak against earth, earth is weak against lightning, lightning is weak against wind, and wind was weak against fire. Which is kind of strange because when you look at Pokemon, it's the reverse with earth and lightning.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they should have just made. Let's see. I wonder if they should have made lightning the weakness to water and earth the weakness to lightning, and then have wind be the weakness to earth. I mean, wind be the strength against earth. I feel like that might have been better, but unfortunately, it's too late to change that now. And I guess this is something that the editors did not tell Kishimoto to do.
Have you all not seen play Pokemon?
Yeah, it's like, or maybe they decide, you know what, maybe we're making this too similar to Pokemon. Let's do it in a different way.
Yeah.
That could be the explanation. But yeah, now granted, Deidara's explosion Earth clay thing later got retconned as an explosive release as well, but that's still an Earth style, but still. But yeah, but Deidara, angry at Sasuke, ends up saying that if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me thing. Blows himself up, and then you have like the Great Snake Escape, in which Sasuke managed to summon Manda in just the exact time to shield himself. I mean, it's a kind of a shame, really, because you kind of wasted the giant snake that Orochimaru had. Because that was kind of like a fun deciding deadlock. Meanwhile, Naruto was talking to Kabuto, who had infused himself with Orochimaru's DNA, but given him detail and all of Orochimaru's info in the Akatsuki, and vowing that, let's see, he's going after Sasuke first before coming after him. Sort of setting up, let's see, future conflicts there. But yeah. But Deidara is dead, and in many ways, I take it you were not happy with this.
No. Because it was crap how it ended. It was crap.
In many ways, when I think back to it, I wonder if perhaps it would have been better if Deidara had fought, the 8-man squad instead. And if he was going to be taken out this arc, it would have been better if he fought the 8-man squad instead, just because, he had a history with Naruto and Kakashi, and eventually he was going to encounter Sai later. And well, Teammate didn't really get a chance to fight an Akatsuki member yet, so this would have been the perfect opportunity to resolve that sort of conflict. But I think the main reason why Deidara ended up fighting Sasuke is because Kishimoto wanted Sasuke to fight a member of the Akatsuki before Itachi, and he also needed Sasuke to meet Toby here, who later revealed when we finally introduced to like the supposed leader of the Akatsuki, Pain and Conan. Let's see. Turns out that Toby, the secret mastermind, was in fact was claimed to be Madara Uchiha, one of the two statues from the Valley of End and all that stuff. So yeah, this seems to be the main reason why probably you had Deidara encountering Sasuke. Let's see. Now, granted, perhaps this is arguably one of the things that probably argued if you had more members, you could have had someone fight Sasuke in the stead. Now, which kind of member, who knows, but yeah. But in a bit of a cut to this, we then end up going Jiraiya in his pursuit of like Pain and Conan and all that stuff, and when he enters like the Rain Village, he ends up learning that the Rain Village was in a civil war with the leader of the Akatsuki controlling one faction and Hanzo controlling the other. A ninja who fought not only him, Tsunade, and Orochimaru and beat them, and named them Sannin because they survived against him. And that's how they became legends and all that stuff. Because this guy was extremely powerful. And the leader of the Akatsuki, Pain, not only destroyed him, but killed everyone associated with him, be it his family, his friends, his teachers, students, if you will, right-hand men, all of them. And anyone that survived and tried to take revenge later, he would kill. All in the name of his, like, will of God, if you will. You have a brief fight against Jiraiya and Conan, but it's mainly a fight against Pain, in which he uses this body here, the animal path, in which allows him to summon. And for the most part, at some point, Jiraiya ends up revealing the Sage Mode ability, and eventually, as time went on, he ended up fighting different of the 6 paths of Pain here. Mainly, I think, this one, the human path, and I think was it the Petra path? I'm trying to remember the names of these ones, but the human one is apparently can absorb human souls and their knowledge, and this one here can absorb any ninjutsu and all that stuff, which I should probably also mention that the abilities of the Pain is that of the Rinnegan, and apparently these eyes belong to the founder of ninjutsu, the Sage of 6 Paths himself. And apparently, of the 3 main eyes of the series, who apparently were labeled the 3 great eyes, the Sharingan, Byakugan, and Rinnegan, it was the strongest, and the one who had it had the abilities of God. Now, I will admit, the eye abilities of the Rinnegan only really seem to work when you divide yourself into 6 beings. Because, let's see, the abilities they have seem to be more, well, they're truth more godlike. Eventually, of course. Sorry, what?
Well, yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how Madara, or Toby, for that matter, probably, managed to implant Madara's eyes into Nagato.
Well, apparently it was actually Madara that had, I think Zetsu did it or something. At least, well, Madara implanted them, but let's see. But I don't know how he did it. He might have had Zetsu do it. I'm not sure, but that will be later down the story. But yeah, but eventually Jiraiya dies in this battle, and this is arguably good setup for like the eventual conflict between Pain and Naruto. But I will admit, before Pain was introduced, I believe there were many theories that Pain was in fact actually the 4th Hokage and Naruto's father. And that and it was like set up so like Minato just put the 9 tails in him just so he had somewhere to keep it until he needed it or something. I'm not sure if you saw. Do you ever see that sort of like dojo where it's like Minato's the leader of the Akatsuki?
Oh, I remember that.
Let's see. In many ways, that would have been an interesting thing, but I guess it would have looked too much like Luke, I am your father moment. So Kishimoto probably didn't do it. But though, interestingly, Pain did end up having a connection to Jiraiya because, well, he was a student of Jiraiya, which also made the conflict more personal. But yeah, I don't know. What did you make of this section of the, let's see, Itachi pursuit arc? I know, granted, it's supposed to be its own mini arc, the tale of the gallant Jiraiya, but I view it as one big arc, to be honest. But yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Did you think the members of the Akatsuki were used properly here, or do you think Conan was used a bit too sparingly?
Well, Conan was a wasted potential right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Or didn't even use her at all, except for a stupid time where she fights Obito. But you know, what was the point of that?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit, but yeah, but for the most part, Pain was used well. And then eventually, of course, you finally had the long-awaited fight between Sasuke and Itachi, and this is where they had their clash. And Sasuke learns that Itachi had help at that night with someone who claimed to be Madara Uchiha. And during this fight, Itachi seemed to be the only reason we learned that the only reason he spared Sasuke is because he needed him as a spare set of eyes to awaken another stage of the Sharingan, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which seemingly cancels out the weakness of the eyes of like losing their sight over time by ripping out your like siblings or close kinsmen. And as a result, not only do you get clear vision, but you also become immortal.
Oh yeah. Although it's some kind of not really like replacing the eyes, but somehow I guess merging. I don't know. It's vague.
Yeah. During this fight, Sasuke uses, of course, all his best abilities and all that stuff, and eventually, seemingly look like he kills Itachi, but he has an ace up his sleeve, an ability called the third ability of the Mangekyo Sharingan, the Susanoo, this sort of giant avatar warrior which can protect him.
Yeah.
And of course, at this stage, Orochimaru comes out of Sasuke's curse mark because Orochimaru apparently planted a part of himself in each curse mark, forming like this giant Yotama no Orochi thing. And the Susanoo battles Itachi for a bit, but Itachi's sword absorbs Orochimaru and seals him within the gourd, kind of thing. Apparently, this bit of the fight is supposed to be a reference to the tale of Yotama no Orochi and the god Susanoo.
Mm-hmm.
It's because, well, Kishimoto does like his Japanese mythology. But it seems like Orochimaru is finally being taken care of. And during this point, Itachi, looking like he's about to win and take Sasuke's eyes, dies of exhaustion and all that stuff before placing his fingers on Sasuke's forehead like he used to in the past.
Yeah.
And this is where, of course, during this time, I should probably mention that Toby, of course, fought Team 8, the 8-man squad, but mostly off screen, though we did see a bit more of it in the anime. And of course, you did have that bit at the end against Shino. But when Setsu arrives from forming Itachi's dead, Sasuke won. He's not at all surprised and ends up dropping the Tomobi persona and showing that he has a Sharingan to the 8-man squad. Mm-hmm. And then taking Sasuke away, and reveals that Itachi wasn't a bad guy all along, but was actually a good guy who only wiped out the clan because, well, he was ordered by the Kona elders and Danzo.
Retcon.
Let's see. Okay. While you go on a bit about that, I'm just going to quickly do something, and I'll be back in a minute, if that's okay, if you will.
Oh, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just you and me, folks. What should we talk about? I guess.
How about you talk about the revelation of Itachi? I think
the revelation of Itachi. Okay, you mean one of the biggest retcons in Naruto? Even
Yes.
Itachi wasn't originally supposed to be a good guy. He was more supposed to be the literal villain. But I guess Kishimoto had a change of heart and decided to make Itachi a good guy somehow. Not sure how that is. But I always find it interesting that the fight between Sasuke and Itachi was actually one-sided. Itachi, if he was in 100% full condition, he would have mopped the floor with Sasuke, no question. Because keep this in mind, Itachi was fighting Sasuke mostly blind, very sick. He was basically on death's door, and was only barely keeping alive through medications and sheer force of will. And at the whole time was actually holding back on Sasuke just to push him far enough to bring Orochimaru's spirit out, which he would then absorb into his Susanoo. That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, I am now back, and yes, that is sort of like the whole thing. In many ways, my understanding, he came up with the idea of Itachi being a good guy around the time he did the backstory between them and against the Naruto and Sasuke fight. Apparently, that was when he came up with the idea.
Yeah, and what was this supposed to do? Have us feel sorry for Itachi? No one did.
I feel like the main reason that Itachi, I think the main reason that this has happened is because, well, Sasuke was interested in Itachi. He had no witty business with Kahona afterwards and all that stuff. And also, Kishimoto needed Naruto to clash with Sasuke. And what better way to do it than have it that have Kahona be involved with the Chiha massacre, as that gives Sasuke a personal vendetta against the Leaf.
I mean, I guess.
So it's like, okay, you see, now Sasuke has a reason to fight, to go back to the Leaf and fight Naruto, because Naruto has to try and stop his friend from destroying the Leaf Village.
Yeah, you had to have a reason for what Sasuke hates the Konoha village, because they made Itachi kill his own family. And he was originally a good guy the entire time. I don't know, it's overly convoluted. You could have made it much simpler than that.
Yeah. On one hand, I think it's clear that Kishimoto did not. On one hand, I think the revelation itself is actually not that bad and all that stuff. I just think it's just how he handled it afterwards. Though granted, who knows? This entire discussion on the Uchiha could in itself be its own stream at some point. The Uchiha problem.
Yeah. But they didn't really do anything about the Konoha village, the elders.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do anything. After all this came out, and it's like, it didn't do anything. We'll want to make up their own story of oh well, they actually did do something. They just did it off screen, but we don't know what they did. And Naruto changed the system, and blah blah blah. But these people still have power.
And if you're going back, and if the Boruto anime is supposedly canon, we still see that the elders still have their job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also got Sasuke told Sakura and Xalad about the Uchiha massacre and everything behind that, and it's like, no, because Xalad has no clue about anything.
I mean, I thought the novel, apparently the Sasuke Retsudan novel did, at least I thought it did at first because I saw it on the wiki, but now that was erased, so I don't know if that's actually the case now. So it's like...
But I thought the writer of that novel thought the whole thing was a fanfic.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden it's canon.
But yeah. But I don't know. Yeah. But as a result of this, in the next arc, you have Taka sort of forming an alliance with the Akatsuki, if you will. As we can see from this, they even wear the Akatsuki getup, and they've made a sort of a deal and all that stuff. That if they do the job of hunting the 8-tails while they deal with the 9-tails, because, well, Toby ended up setting Pain and Cullen to go after Naruto, because at this point it's like Naruto's become given how he was able to defeat Kasukazu, it's probably best to have like arguably the strongest member of the Akatsuki go after him, while Taka deals with like Killer Bee and all that stuff. And in many ways, the alliance with Taka does sort of replace the amount of members that have sort of replaces them from the ones that have lost. The only difference is that the members of Taka don't actually get the rings that the Akatsuki members needed for the Gedo statue.
And Sasuke isn't held accountable for actually joining a terrorist organization.
Yes, I remember.
Everyone just brushes that one off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, attack the Kage Summit as a terrorist organization group. Sounds great. Let's forgive him. Not but 100 chapters later.
Yeah.
Because he supposedly helped.
But during the fight, let's see, Sasuke at least seemingly seems to have a moment where he does have a genuine moment when he remembers Team 7 fondly, and of course cares for his new team, Taka, seeing him in a similar light, awakens like one of his Mangekyo powers, the Amatsu, to like apparently supposedly burn B and capture him, though of course he uses this to escape. But of course, the Cloud Ninjas see this and report to the Hokage, and this sets up Sasuke being known as a part of the Akatsuki and all that stuff. But yeah.
No, it can't be true. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And then you have... Meanwhile, Naruto training to avenge a Jiraiya against Pain, with the 6 paths of Pain, in which, let's see, as we saw earlier with like Cone, attack the village and all that stuff. During which you have Kakashi versus the Deva Path, or the God one, and I'm not sure, I can't remember which Deviant 6 Path of Pain this one is, but the one that allows him to modify the body to become a cyborg, I think. I know that one's a bit strange. But yeah, but Kakashi is like assisted by Choji and his father during this fight, which is like Choji's father being seriously injured and Kakashi seemingly losing his life. Sort of building up the hype of like how deadly Pain is as a villain. Meanwhile, you have the other paths just fighting about. The Animal One summoning as many summons as she can, and all that stuff, replacing the one that Jiraiya defeated. But see, one of them was a giant centipede that had Sakura defeat in one shot, in which, on one hand, it's like, okay, it's kind of cool that you had Sakura take down a giant summon with one punch, but it's like, after so long, this is all you give her in terms of a fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a kind of nice warm up, but it's like, is that it? Of course, the only other fights that end up happening are like more off-screen ones, and where you have like the Animal Path fights that interrogation ninja from part 1, from the tuning exams. Ibiki, I think his name was. You then also had like the one that absorbs things versus Kiba and his mother. Conan against Shino and his father and the rest of his clan. And then but the one that you actually get to see is Konohamaru versus the one that can suck people. One of the people that can. One of the two that has the ability to suck souls, but also revive the other Pains.
Oh, yeah.
Now, on one hand, okay, I can get letting Konohamaru have his moment and like Naruto's student as like the next generation and all that stuff, but it's like, of all the fights you could have had, this is the one you show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Granted, granted, Pain encounters Tsunade, and apparently, Kishimoto did intend to have Tsunade fight Pain here, but the editor at the time, who had replaced Yahagi, told him to skip it and have Naruto fight Pain, because leave the glory to the main character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is in the long term a bad thing, because, well, you could have seen Tsunade's abilities much sooner, like the strength of the 100 seal thing, which you could have given to Sakura much earlier in the story. But But Pain ends up destroying the village and then having a one-on-one fight with Naruto, in which one by one he destroys each of the 6 paths until he's like temporarily immobilized by Pain and also killing his frog master. Learning a bit more about Pain's backstory, and for the first time, Naruto's rendered speechless by the villain. Because, like, oh, you attacked my village? Well, your village attacked my one long ago. And all that
History.
Stuff. Yeah.
Bro, why can't you just let it go? Let it go? You can't even get over the fact that your boyfriend was taken.
Yeah, and for some reason he ends up bringing up Sasuke in the fight. But yeah, but doing this, arguably probably Kishimoto's big term mistake in terms of the shipping thing, had Hinata come in, confess her love, charge at Pain, and get Ritzy knocked out and seemingly dying for Naruto to go 6 tails.
Yeah, well that's okay, because according to Naruto last movie, Naruto didn't think much of it.
So yeah.
But he went 9 tails. Yeah, and he didn't think much of it. He thought Hinata was basically saying she liked Naruto like she likes food.
Yeah. So yeah, Naruto fights Pain in 6 tails mode to going to 8 tails, and then apparently we also learn at this point Mitsu, Yamato, Sai, and Anko were like searching for Kabuto at this point, but that's why they went in the village. Though Yamato had to hurry back because of the whole thing. But Minato ends up doing a failsafe. Naruto learns who his father is, and gets an idea of how he can try and talk to Ritzy, try and find the answer to like the dilemma he's having with Pain. But of course, he defeats the final Pain and then goes talks to Nagato, and learns his backstory about how his parents were killed by Leaf Ninja, how he awakened the Rinnegan for the first time, met Jiraiya, became students under Yahiko along with Yahiko and Conan, learned the origins of the Akatsuki, and how they became the organization they were when they were betrayed by Hanzo, who was assisted by Danzo.
Mm-hmm.
And then he became the villain that he was known to be and all that stuff. Though Naruto, with like using Jiraiya's book, is able to persuade Nagato of believing the thing that he once did to try and pursue peace. But as a token of gesture, ends up reviving everyone he kills in the village, like Kakashi, Suzune, and the frog teacher. Dies as a result of this thing, and Conan vows to help Naruto in the future. At this point, Naruto is treated as a hero.
Yeah. Hooray!
So, let's see. I take it you're not a big fan of the revival and all that stuff.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm. I take it. Yeah, I'm a bit mixed myself. On one hand, after that, it kind of killed the suspense of like death in the series. But on the other hand, it's like Naruto's biggest accomplishment, and then finally got the village to recognize him.
Yeah.
Let's see, but yeah. But in many ways,
It's a weird thing. It's kind of like the ultimate ass pull. After it was kind of like going downhill from there. Once you kind of revive an entire group of people like that, it's kind of, I don't know.
You're not sure if you can expect the people to die again in the series.
Yeah, well, eventually it comes back into play later down the road, but you know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, but I definitely say the 6 paths of pain were missed opportunity from what I mentioned earlier, because, well, the thing about the 6 paths was that there were 6 of them, and with Cone that's 7, so you have like 7 antagonists in a story arc in which you could have the majority of the K11 actually end up fighting them. And okay, to be fair, you do see them briefly fighting them, but that was off screen, and that was it. And then you know they all just got wiped out by Naruto in the end, which I'm not against that, but it's just like you can show off more of their abilities first and show more of the K11s. In many ways, the 7th opening of Shippuden teased, let's see, much better fights that we never got to see. The most biggest example is that they had the Kahuna girls against Conan.
Well, I think one of the things he could have did, because in theory, Pain could have used any one of the single bodies to use all his techniques, but he didn't. He kind of kept it down to one body using one technique.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have been interesting if, how do I want to say, like, if you had moments he could where he could put all the abilities in one body or split them up if he wanted to, but as well had people confused on why Pain still continues to exist.
If I had to guess, let's see. If I had to guess, I think the reason each one had an individual thing is to make it to the fullest of their abilities and all that stuff. But I think an interesting thing you could have done is, with each Pain that's destroyed, another Pain will get its abilities and stuff, and the less of the more Pains go, the more abilities that it gets.
Yeah, but
I feel like you could.
But could you imagine a moment in the story for what's happening in the war arc where they were attacking Pain and like they're trying to figure out why he keeps coming back, and then they get Jiraiya's message that his dying breath that there's more than one, and then eventually they start collecting the bodies so that they can make sure that they got them all, because they realize that there's different ones, but they also don't go beyond those 6. You know what I'm saying? And then a plot twist, you find out later that he kind of staged his other bodies to be quote unquote killed so that he could attack the Konoha from inside out.
I'm not sure about that. But I'm not sure about that, but I guess we could talk a little bit more about it later. But that implies that Pain survives this arc, and I'm not entirely sure if he should. But anyway, I think it's time we then go into the Akatsuki and the Kage Summit arc, in which arguably, besides the war arc, and the tuning exams, is the third largest introduction of multiple characters. Mm-hmm. In which we end up learning about the other 5 nations that we have yet to see. Now, granted, this arc is the follow-up of the Pain arc, in which we get the aftermath results, in which Danzo becomes Hokage, and Sasuke is revealed to be a member of the Akatsuki, and all that stuff. How does Team 7 react to this? Pretty badly. Now, granted, Sasuke at this point is heading to Kahuna after supposedly doing his mission to Taka for the Akatsuki, but and you can see that he's given up the Akatsuki robes to just go back to their regular black ones, seemingly showing his disassociation with the thing. But at this point, he has the mindset of killing everyone in Kahuna, but Toby stops him, and as a result, reveals that Danzo's become Hokage, and he's at the Kage Summit, so Sasuke vows to,
kill everyone.
Go to the Kage Summit to kill Danzo and all that stuff. With Setsu revealing that he can split himself. I should also mention that Toby sends Kizume to go after the 8 Tails. With him talking to the Black Setsu, he decides that, of course, he's done playing cautious now, and it's time to go out in the open. And that their plan is to have, the Project Tsukuyomi, which I suppose I forgot to mention some of the plans that the Akatsuki had before. Because it's revealed in the Hidden in Kakuzu arc, the goal of the Akatsuki was to become its own effective military organization that had no loyalty to any of the villages and all that stuff. Gather enough wealth and influence, as well as the power of the tailed beasts, that the lands would be forced to rely on them and abandon the villages, causing them to collapse for economic reasons and as well as lack of abilities. That eventually they would control the world as a result.
That's basically what Sasuke's plan was: be the ultimate power in the nation, so that that they became the enemies of everybody. If anybody tried to
Mm-hmm.
attack them or anything, they would just get flattened. So they essentially create world peace just by being the one and only controlling nation.
Yeah, or let's see, group, if you will.
Yeah.
And this came, and then Pain revealed his own personal goal of using, let's see, all of the tailed beast to create a giant weapon that could a giant jutsu that could cause a massive explosion that could destroy a country.
Yeah, pretty much.
In many ways, this is probably a reference to the nuclear bomb, which, to be fair, did Japan's the only country to be to have suffered from a nuclear explosion.
Twice.
Yes, twice by America. But yeah, but yeah. So I believe Kishimoto did live in a town or village nearby one of those two cities or those areas that were nuked. So he probably made a bit of an allegory to there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But this is like with this. But this is the first hint that the plan might not necessarily be that. But yeah, Taka ends up invading the summit, battling most of the Kage. During this, Sasuke ends up starting to kill people, particularly the no-name samurai, which Shigetsu seems to complain, while Karin notices the growing darkness within Sasuke. But Sugetsu and Jugo get taken out during the fight against the Raikage and his Cloud Ninja. Let's see, where Sasuke just only taking Karin with him to try and find Danzo, which he ends up escaping, and he ends up being incapacitated by the Mizukage and Tsukage. Now, granted, he also has a talk with Gaara for the first time since part one, who tries to appeal to him, but doesn't work, with his siblings telling him to give up. If Naruto cannot save him, he's a lost cause. But then Toby, or Madara at this point, reveals himself to them as he was ended up being discussed before. And this is an interesting note. It's because when Kisame first learned that Toby was Madara, he called him Mizukage, and we learned here that the fourth Mizukage, the Three-Tails Jinchuriki, who, fun enough, one of the only few individuals that can control the tailed beasts, besides Killer Bee, Hashirama, and Madara, was somehow manipulated by Genjutsu, which makes me to believe that he never actually fully controlled the Three Tails, or Toby somehow uses Genjutsu to control the Three Tails first, and then the fourth Mizukage to cause the heinous acts of the Blood Mist, being the secret Mizukage from behind the shadows. And as a result of this, the Mist Village seems to be the origin place, or it's alleged to be the origin place of the Akatsuki. And one of the reasons why they're not chosen as alliance to lead the alliance, besides the Sin and Stone being the organization that the village that used them enough times before they double-crossed them, particularly when they stole the 5 Tails and 4 Tails. But during this, Toby ends up revealing that his main plan is to gather all the tailed beasts and let's see. Nope, not that image. Let's see, and merge them together. Nope, not that image. And merge them together to create. Let's see. Hold on, let me just get the. Let's see. The 10 Tails. A fusion of all the monsters that the Sage of Six Paths had fought. And then, let's see, merge and seal it within himself, becoming its Jinchuriki, and then separating them into 9 different beasts when the time of his passing was close at hand, to make sure it would not wreak havoc. And Madara's goal was apparently to become its new Jinchuriki and cast an infinite Tsukuyomi on the moon to reflect around the world, putting everyone in an eternal sleep, which they could not awake from. When the Kage refused to hand over the remaining tailed beasts, he declares war. The fourth Great Ninja War.
Yeah.
As a result of the fact that, Madara, has 7 of the 9 tailed beasts, They agree to form an alliance and then hide the other Jinchuriki. I should mention it during this point. Toby is also talking to Naruto, and we revealed that the Sage of Sixth Path is actually the ancestor of the Uchiha and Senju clans who founded the Leaf Village, and that who from there like his two sons, and the two sons ended up clashing each other because the Sage chose the younger, the Senju's ancestor, over the elder, the Uchiha's ancestor, because standard hierarchy when it comes to family bloodlines is that the eldest son always inherits, the main role and all that stuff. So yeah, you had a bit of a jealousy there and a clash that's led down to the conflict that we have today. As Toby ends up revealing to Naruto, Kashi, and Yamato that, of course, Itachi was ordered by Kahona. Eventually, during this bit, you then have, during this bit, after Naruto's dealing with his own drama about Sasuke, Sakura, and Gaara, you end up having Kisame fighting Killer Bee, making it one of the few fights in which you don't see a Leaf Ninja fighting anyone. But this is where you get a sort of full grasp of Kisame's abilities. And learn that, Kisame's sword, Samehamehada, is actually a living sword, which you can merge into like a shark monster. I do wonder if this was an idea. The shark monster was what he was originally planning to be Kisame to be, and all that stuff.
As far as I know, yeah.
Let's see. He seems to easily subdue Killer Bee, but due to the fact that the sword ends up liking Killer Bee's chakra too much, changes allegiance, and just before Kisame can do anything about it, the Rakage arrives with his escort and seemingly kills Kisame along with Killer Bee with a move called the double lariat.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Which I will admit did a good job of convincing me at the time that Kisame was dead until it revealed that Zetsu had created a replica from like one of his clones, which he also used to help Sasuke recover during the fight against the Kages before also letting them to their presence. And that Kisame had secretly hid himself inside Samehamehada to infiltrate the Cloud Village for the upcoming war, gaining their intel, and then try and capture Killer Bee when he's free to do so. I will admit, it was a... Let's see, sorry, what?
That was pretty good.
Yeah, and I must admit, it sort of like saves a potential plot hole convenience for saying like, why on earth would Toby tell the Kage that Killer Bee's still around? When let's see, the main reason he did it is because he wants Kisame to get some intel first, and then once he has that, you can have Kisame hunt Killer Bee to his free content while the Alliance, because he figured the Alliance would try and hide the Jinchuriki. Thinking that they would be too afraid to have them out in the open battlefield. But during this, Toby ends up encountering, Danzo's group taking out his bodyguards. Also, he loses an arm, but this is the first hints of his artificial arm and all that stuff. And then you have Sasuke fighting Danzo, getting the full confirmation that Itachi did do it under his orders. Which makes you beg the question, if you weren't 100% sure, why would you go through all the actions you did? You'd at least find evidence first, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But during this, eventually, Danzo's revealed to have both Sharingan and, Wood Style and all that stuff, due to some help from Orochimaru, in which it feels he was planning to control the Nine Tails himself at some point. Eventually ends up being killed by Sasuke when he stabs through Karin, sacrificing her to, kill Danzo, showing that he has gone to the darkest point he has where he disregards his own comrades. Which is arguably what Toby wanted to do, at least seeing Sasuke become as dark as he was. Danzo dies failed attempt to trying to stop both Sasuke and Toby. when Toby tries to take Danzo's main eye, which reveals to be Shusue's eye. And this plays into an effect a bit later. Let's see.
Weird.
Let's see. He tells Sasuke to try and kill Karin, and this is when we actually learn a bit of Karin's backstory. Where, granted, we had a little bit in the data books where she fled a village that she knew was going to be attacked, and Orochimaru, pressed by abilities, recruited her. But it's revealed that apparently she was once a grass ninja that took part in the tuning exams and was actually saved by Sasuke when he went off while looking for a scroll, while Naruto and Sakura were just complementing their own plan of a fake scroll. And apparently he ended up genuinely smiling at her when he got a brief glimpse at him and all that stuff. Now, whether or not, whether or not you ship Sasuke Karin or not, I will say this sort of flashback. Granted, I'm not entirely a fan of the events that transpires, but I feel like this point in the thing, this backstory and revelation, I think, gives a bit much more depth to the Sasuke Karin ship than ever did to Sasuke Sakura, because you actually gave Karin a reason to liking Sasuke.
Yeah.
Let's see, because
Another useless factoid.
Yeah. But Sakura ends up preventing this, and Sasuke tries to kill her. Then Kakashi, and then Naruto, and all that stuff. And Naruto says that, let's see, if they both clash, they will die, and all that stuff. And this seems to resolve the conflict for now. With him then deciding to take Itachi's eyes, because he refused them at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of ended the bit with the Akatsuki there. Now, I will say, for the three remaining members themselves, I'd say they were used pretty well for the most part. You got an idea of what each of them could do. Setsu can split and form fake clones of himself, Kizame with his sword, and Toby with his phasing ability. It's mainly with the stuff with Sasuke that causes problems.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it feels like a complete 180 with him abandoning Taka at the very least.
Oh, they just disappear.
Yeah, it's like Kishimoto wanted to get Sasuke by himself again, but it's like he did it in the worst possible way.
Well, that's what happens when you give into a pairing fandom. Everything you've been developing up to that point just gets become a wasted mess.
Yeah, especially when it feels like Taka was being built up to fight Team Yamato in a sense.
Or at least be a replacement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like Naruto against Sasuke, Yamato against Jugo, Sakura against Karin, and Sugetsu against Sai. That's how often I've seen people do this matchup. Granted, you could even have Leo Kiba show up, since they're supposed to be with Sakura and Sai, and you could have had some of them clash against that. I mean, it would have been very interesting to have Lee and Kiba encounter Jugo because of the whole curse mark thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's now time to the probably the next bit, and where we end up learning that Kabuto has let me just let's see. Let me just find the image and where is it? Here we are. Kabuto has fully become fully absorbed Orochimaru, becoming a sort of like snake-like being, if you will. And during the course of this, Ritzy encounters Toby and ends up revealing that he has learned the Edo Tensei Jutsu and has revived 5 of the dead Akatsuki members that we have known from the series at this point. Itachi, Dedura and Sasori, Kakazu, and Nagato. And is willing to form an alliance and is able to blackmail Toby with this information, with this secret coffin, which he doesn't want getting out and all that stuff. So yeah. So in many ways, yeah, this bit here, I'll be honest with you. I always knew that the Edo Tensei was going to come back. I mean, because it was like a jutsu that could be useful to bringing in characters that we didn't know about, but at least heard of, like the previous Hokage. This here, I felt like this would be how Kishimoto would bring back the Jinchuriki that we had got glimpses of or didn't see, but then would come up later. Now, I've never expected them to revive the members of the Akatsuki.
Except
But
for
yeah,
he was still alive and buried in a hole.
yeah. But yeah. But doing this, doing this, you end up having hold on. Let's see. During this arc, you end up having Naruto. When he gains his like Nine Tails abilities. Let's see. After he defeats the Nine Tails and gains its first chakra mode, ends up revealing to have. Oh, I'm just getting another image up as well. Let's see, before I share screens and all that stuff. Reveals that, let's see, he's got negative sensing emotions. Whoops, wrong image. Let's see, and reveals that he's able to detect Kizame and all that stuff, who is inside the sword, which results in him having his final clash against Guy. Guy defeats him using the seventh gate, and we end up learning from Kizame that he was a deluded Miss Ninja with spies and lies and deceit, killing his own comrades under his superior's orders, but his own superior was a traitor to the village, and then learning that the fourth Miss Hokage was actually Madara or Toby. You see, giving a glimpse of seeing his first real face, or like hints, but Kizame prevented the Leaf from interrogating that bit of information. And it's revealed that Kizame also knew that the Eye of the Moon plan from the get-go and wanted to see the world that would create, but ends up sacrificing his life and being devoured by sharks, but also having his intel delivered to Toby while he is going out to fight Conan to claim Nagato's body so he can steal the Rinnegan, fighting her, and then she nearly kills him, but due to the Izanagi ability, he survives, which that was Danzo used against Sasuke. And then, as a result of this, Toby ends up let's see, I'm just Toby, let's see, ends up getting a new look as well as the Rinnegan, mixing with his Sharingan, if you will.
Okay.
And sorry, let me just get the mask. This
I gotta go in a little bit here, so can we wrap this up a little bit?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I've been sharing the screen too much, so yeah. So I think Ritzy was planning to share a bit more, and it's taking a bit longer, but yeah. Ritzy, in many ways, Kon's death symbolizes the end of the Akatsuki as we know it. But it also feels like a wasted opportunity with the character because, she was supposed to fire. Let's see. And apparently the reason why she was never brought back because, let's see. Apparently she knew Toby's identity and all that stuff.
Couldn't know what to do with her.
Well, yeah, that as well. But apparently because she also knew Obito's identity. So yeah, then of course Kabuto has dead Roka with him to try and pursue Naruto and Killer Bee. But then, of course, let's see, the Tachikasuke prevents that, but he manages to kidnap Yamato. And in the war, you have Deidara and Sasori versus Sai and Kankuro and Omni. They end up being defeated, with Sasori returning to the afterlife after Kankuro's words. Kakuzu ends up, of course, let's see, pointing out to Team 10 that Asuma's alive and then getting defeated off screen. And then Nagato and Itachi team up against Killer Bee, but then Itachi switches sides because it revealed that Naruto had Itachi's Shizue's eye, because during the arc, no, the Itachi arc, Naruto actually encountered Itachi, and he gave him some of his power to deal with Sasuke, but it was like an ability to,
that crow.
yeah, and that
It was originally for Sasuke to protect Konoha. That was the brainwashing thing.
yeah,
But
and
how
instead
well that worked,
yeah,
only to have Itachi and Sasuke conveniently meet down the road.
yeah, and I feel like the only reason Kishimoto did this because Itachi would be the only one that Sasuke would listen to at this point.
Well, yeah. Well, because he pretty much was done with Sasuke's arc and had to wait till the war arc was finished before Sasuke could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But, wasted potential. Could have had Sasuke go to Konoha and destroy it and have all, like, Naruto and the rest of the people come back to find it destroyed and leveled.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But yeah, we'll get more to that bit, but yeah. But Itachi, yeah, going after Kabuto Sasuke. Kabuto reveals to have the actual Madara as a thing. Naruto ends up clashing with Tobi with the 6 Jinchuriki, and then Kakashi and Gai shows up. Then reveals to be Obito himself. They revive the Ten Tails. Bit of a clash there. Eventually with like the Edo Hokages with the allied forces against Obito with the Ten Tails. Then Madara, only for him to be double-crossed by Black Zetsu. The White Zetsu was killed by Sasuke, which seemed like a waste. And ends up being, double-crossed by Black Zetsu to summon Kaguya. Then Kaguya is sealed by Team 7. Madara dies. Zetsu is also sealed away. And that seemingly is the end of the Akatsuki, besides Sasuke clashing with Naruto. Oh, and Orochimaru's revived, but he's now a good guy. And then, of course, you have Gaiden, where you have that Shin Uchiha, who's been one of Orochimaru's experiments, trying to revive the Akatsuki, but fails and betrayed by his clones, and that's the end of the Akatsuki, before they're replaced by Otsutsuki's and this organization called Kara, who is a mix of Otsutskis and cyborgs. And that's pretty much what's going on with the Akatsuki there. Let's see. But as you can see, the Akatsuki were not really used, but used fully well, but yeah. But so now that we got the war stuff out, do you want to bring up this theory you had?
Well, not theory, but how to work the Akatsuki as a bigger threat and actually work them into the story a little bit better.
Okay.
And it was basically just using the war arc as a means to destroy the Akatsuki.
So you don't think the Akatsuki members should have died during the arcs they did instead of being saved up for the war?
Well, some of them could have been killed, but the rest should have been saved for the war arc.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so which ones do you think should have been saved for the war, and which ones do you think could have been left disposed of?
Kakuzu, Kasame, Hiden could have been saved. I think. Conan could have been saved. Pain could have been saved.
So the ones that you think should have been dead, at the very least, were Sasori, Dedera, and Itachi.
Yes.
And maybe possibly Hidan.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So why those members specifically?
Because not only were they the toughest of the bunch, but you literally could have had them ruling their own nations.
Well, technically, you had Pain ruling the Rain Village, so yeah, you could have had that as an army force.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but like as sub-generals, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna do this, and we are gonna do this, why do you just make them like all instantly get capped in one battle? And they weren't even like, and they lost in such a way that I don't know.
Fair enough.
They could have been smarter about it, especially after Sasori was killed off.
Uh-huh.
It should have been okay. Our hubris got to the better of us. Maybe we need to do better. Because the Akatsuki could have just went back into hiding and then planned a better strategy to go after Naruto. I mean, they were in hiding long before Naruto was even born. It's like all of a sudden, oh, now they come out of nowhere and everyone just takes them and frags them out.
Okay.
Come on, these are ninjas, man. But it would have made the war arc a little bit better, and you could have had time skips, or even time extensions, so where instead of the war arc being one day, it goes over months.
Uh-huh.
Which all of them trying to take out the entire generals.
Anyway, but speaking of that, if you were to include extra members of your Akatsuki, who would you include?
I really wouldn't. I think there was enough members as it was.
Okay, fair enough. But do you want me to give you an idea of what you could consider to add to the Akatsuki's ranks?
Go for it.
The first one I can think of is I'm just going to get the image up is just because I wanted to use this one.
While you're doing that, I'll be honest. The reason why I don't want to add any other member because Kishimoto already had a hard time getting the members he had getting screen time.
Let's see. One members that I can think of is the Gold and Silver brothers here, Kinkaku and Ginkaku. Let's see. Now, the only reason why I think that these two were introduced is because Kishimoto needed a pseudo Nine-Tails Jinchuriki to steal the chakra from, and all that stuff. And
I mean, I guess they could be members of the Akatsuki, but more like underlings rather than generals.
Yeah, but yeah. And to be fair, they're legendary tools, which, okay, let's see. Now, granted, let's see, 3 of them become completely irrelevant with the 5th one, but those tools are actually kind of useful if you wanted to capture a tailed beast alive, or a Jinchuriki alive, to be honest. But
oh yeah.
Let's see. But the reason why I think these ended up being Cloud Ninjas is because Kishimoto made such a big deal that the Akatsuki were no members of the Cloud Village were part of the Akatsuki, that he ended up creating these Cloud Ninja criminals for the war and all that stuff. So yeah, to say, okay, see, there are some bad Cloud Ninjas. At least that's what I partly believe. Other than that, I feel like other kind of members you could have done is you could have added more members of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist to be a part of the Akatsuki, since if you're going to have the Mist Village be the alleged origins of the Akatsuki, you might as well have a lot more members of that village associated with it. When you say? I mean, after all, we know
every army needs soldiers.
Yeah. And not to mention, it'd give away. Not to mention, it could be a bit more of a thing you could have done to add with you could have had Kisame like a sort of general. If you're going to make Kisame a general, you might as well have them as lieutenants and all that stuff.
Yes.
Since okay, like that, and in many ways, this could have been how you could have had Team Guy act more as a group, really, because you have Guy with Kisame as the rival thing, and you have the other swordsman members of the Mist. Let's see, fight the other members of Team Guy, if you will.
There's so much potential you could have had.
Yeah.
I just think you kind of killed some of them off way too early.
Other than that, I think you could have had some of the discriminated Gekkei Genkai ninjas from the Mist, and maybe even some of the other villages and all that stuff. Because apparently Gekkei Genkais were once feared.
Now they pass it around like candies.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, those are what you could have done as replacements and all that stuff for the members. But yeah. But other than that, the only other thing I can think of is like the question here is that if and perhaps the problem is not the fact that the Akatsuki was that the Akatsuki were used too little or not used properly, is the fact that they were the only antagonistic organization, for the most part, in part two, and that Naruto should have dealt with other antagonists besides them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? Mm?
Yeah, but I think the Akatsuki still made the biggest force.
Mm-hmm. That is true. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could have had, let's see, to be fair, most of those, let's see, groups of villains would only be like one-off ones because, well, you have the Akatsuki as the more recurring themed ones.
They even made a bigger plot twist where Conan defects from the Akatsuki because after Pain dies, Obito takes over, and instead of Conan just immediately going to attack Obito, she actually joins the alliance.
You know what? Right before, let's see, Conan died in the Pain arc, can I tell you something?
What's up?
Let's see, when she said that she was going to help Naruto and all that stuff, I initially thought that, okay, she's going to help Naruto lead like a small army as backup to your allied forces, if you will. In many ways, in a similar manner to like how in the Marineford War for One Piece, you had Luffy with Ivanka and Jinbei, Crocodile and Buggy, with the escaped convicts as a mini backup army to, let's see, rescue Ace and all that stuff by assisting Whitebeard. I figured Kishimoto was going to do something similar to that, but he didn't.
Nope. Because he had to rush it until chapter 700.
Yep. Or drag it until he rushed it to 700. Other than that, I feel like, okay, if you're going to have like a white Zetsu army, I feel like if you're going to make, let's see, do that, you know what, make more unique individuals like the Spiral one.
Yeah.
This is like, okay, in many ways, it's like, let's see, this is cool. And you can always make the excuse of the only reason these were not active members of the Akatsuki is because due to their monstrous appearance, it would cause suspicion, and you're only going to use them because of the war.
Yeah. But then
Let's
they
see.
all had the ability to change and mimic other people.
Yeah. Now, granted, this was clearly an ability used to try and draw out, let's see, force the Allied forces to use Naruto's negative sensing emotions. But yeah.
Which is, again, kind of crap. Like, there was none, that was not necessary at all.
But yeah, but apparently Kishimoto needed a justifiable reason to get Naruto in. Now, granted, let's see, the Storm games, ironically enough, just skipped that and just had Raikage just believe in Naruto and B's strength after he was defeated by them.
How would you make peace? I don't know. I'll do something. Close enough.
But yeah. Though interesting, but the fact that but anyway, how did you feel about the white Zetsus initially being like, let's see, failed clones of Hashiyama?
Okay. Like,
You're not fussed with it either way. I do wonder, like, since that's supposed to
you gotta understand, by this point in time in the story, after all this bullshit that we've been handed to over and over again, I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever. You've already done some of this other damage. What else can you do?
Yeah. No, interesting. You'd think but I think one of the biggest problems I think with the white Zetsu is, of course, none of them being a threat, despite the fact they're supposed to be clones of Hashiyama, and the fact that they're being powered up by Yamato. And it's like, really? Let's see. And granted, the biggest thing is we never really get to see their abilities besides the transformation thing. And let's see. Now, granted, we briefly saw the fact that the white Zetsus can merge with each other to form a sort of giant monster versions of themselves, but we still don't see anything. And the only time we've seen them kill Allied forces is when they disguise themselves.
All I know is that apparently these things were easy to take out, but Hinata couldn't do anything. Oh boy, did I say it out loud?
Yes, you did. But yeah. But
Help
you
me,
know, there's
Naruto. I'm the most useless girl in the series.
yeah. But you know what could have been an interesting thing if, like, that merging ability, you could have had with every white Zetsu dead, you could have had the original one merge with them to form a giant monster and end up being a very threatening foe that you'd need like a giant army to take down. Sort of making like white Zetsu, you know, the weakest member of Akatsuki, the strongest, or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to be a bit creative with the Zetsus here.
Yeah. Well, then we already got like double crossed by thinking, oh well, the Black Zetsu was supposed to be Madara's thing, but
Well,
no, it's Kaguya's.
yeah.
How?
Yeah, I don't know. That was just a very bad plot twist. That let's see,
Yeah.
we'll see. Because I mean, face it, Kaguya was only there to make the Hyugas important again, just so they could do that upcoming last movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, but this is the most insulting thing about the Kaguya twist is the fact that it retconned the white Zetsus into like a secret army to fight her kinsman. And given what we've seen of the white Zetsu, it's like this seems like a stupid plan.
Oh, and they weren't clones.
Yeah, they're
Hashirama, they were previous people that got captured and put into an infinite Tsukiyomi.
yeah, which kind of kills the entire point of that plan. Now, whether or not you agree with the idea of that plan or whether or not you think it's stupid, it at least had some level of moral complexity. It's just that Kishimoto never took it because one thing you could have done with it is, actually have some people that actually support the idea because they either lost their loved ones, arguably by like the Five Nations, and they just want to, or they've given up on the world and all that stuff. And they could have just joined Toby and all that stuff just to see that. I mean, you got Kizume to believe it, so yeah, I think you could have worked in this and all that stuff.
Probably would have been better if the White Zetsus retained the consciousness of the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the thing about the White Zetsus, I don't see them taking down the Otsutsuki. I mean, the only one that we've known that has any impressive feats is the Spiral Zetsu, but we have no idea how strong he is by himself, since he often seems to get his powers by hosting people inside him.
Yeah, and once he fused with Toby or Obito, gone forever.
Well, he came back in the war briefly to keep the Allied forces at bay, and apparently had Yamato inside him. And once Naruto and Sasuke awakened the jutsu, all the remaining white Zetsus died.
Goody.
It's like, just like that.
Just like that.
It was very pointless of their existence.
Everything was pointless.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, wasted potential.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
if the Zetsu army was like the final battle of the war, then sure. That was the final push, sure.
Mm-hmm. But they should never been.
The whole war encompassed the actual Akatsuki.
Yeah. So, out of curiosity, let's see. So, given this whole idea of the Akatsuki, who would you have had? Who would you have had if each member being taken down by? Out of curiosity.
I would have kept Sasori the same, so Sakura taking him out.
Mm-hmm.
Naruto taking Kakuzu, that's fine. Shikamaru taking out Hiden, that's fine. Naruto taking out Pain, that's fine.
Uh-huh.
Kasame. Would I be okay with Guy taking out Kasame, essentially? Maybe.
Would you have at least had Lee more involved? Because in many ways, it seems like Guy took over Lee's place in a sense.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe I would.
But yeah.
Maybe I would have Rock Lee, or at least help with the fight against Kasame, right?
Yeah.
Who else? Tachi probably would have went out the same way. Datara is the one that's um Datara is the one I don't know who I would have him be taken out by.
Well, then let's take a look at, let's see, Dedera's history. First, he fought against Gaara, then Naruto and Kakashi. Then he captured the Three Tails along with Toby. Then, of course, fought Sasuke, died. Then fought against the Tishikage. And then him and Sasori were defeated by Conqueror and Sai and all that stuff. So, yeah, in many ways, let's see. But it's interesting because, Dedra seems to know that Sai is a replacement of Sasuke, but yet he never encountered him. Which always made me believe, like, the whole 8-man squad should have fought Dedra, just so Dedra has that bit of history with Sai later. But yeah.
It would be an interesting.
But yeah. But yeah, but
there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I take it you could have had, let's see, Dedra possibly taken out by Sai, just because, like, have one of the new members of Team 7 have an accomplishment, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose Obito would be taken out by Kakashi.
Well, I'll be real. If I would go with my original story, Obito wouldn't be a bad guy at that point.
Fair enough. Do you would like to share some of that idea and all that stuff? Let's see if this with this stream, or would you rather save it for another?
Well, I think I would have liked it if Sasuke and Obito switched places. In a matter of speaking, like, he was the one that helped Madara, not Obito. And Obito, like, ends up getting defeated earlier in the story and then disappears, and then he doesn't come back until the war arc. That was my original idea.
So let's see. So what would you have it as though Obito was being controlled by Madara at first, but then he breaks free of it and something like that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Virgil from Devil May Cry.
Okay, I haven't seen Devil May Cry, but I'll take your word for it. But yeah. Okay. So you're saying that, let's see, initially have him controlling Toby, and then when Sasuke beats Itachi, have Madara control Sasuke and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would say that. I don't know. I would have to go into more depth into it. It depends on how I want to do it.
Fair enough. I guess if you would see, you would probably need more time to think of everything you have before you do it for a stream or a discussion, whether on your channel or my one.
Yeah. Well, I think it would make Obito's redemption better, and it would also make Sasuke's redemption more valuable.
Okay.
If you're gonna have these characters be redeemed, you have to have them cross the line. You can't be like what they did with Sasuke and have him just, like, straddle it.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. So, as a curiosity,
he would kill people if he wanted to. He just chooses not to because there's no point in taking life like that. A real villain wouldn't give a shit.
So, out of curiosity, would you have had the members of Taka be members of the Akatsuki during this time, or would you have them being, what, anti-heroes on the Alliance's side, or what? Hello, James?
I'm thinking. I'd probably have them as kind of like lieutenants that maybe turncoat.
Okay, so fair enough. You have them on the Akatsuki side for a bit. Maybe after a fight or two, they defect and then help the Allied forces to get pardons later.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And then after like everybody has definitively picked a side, or there's a definitive one last ditch effort to, like this is it or nothing, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you throw the White Zetsu army at him. Then you throw all the other stuff at him.
You mean like the Edo Tenseis?
Yes.
So yeah, so getting to that, how would you have handled the whole Kabuto and Orochimaru situation?
Man, you asked me all of these questions.
Well, this isn't a streaming discussion, to be fair.
But it's about the Akatsuki.
Yeah, and to be fair, they are associates and former members.
By technicality. Kabuto wasn't really an official member.
Yeah.
He was an underling of Sasori and then became an underling of Orochimaru.
And then turned out to be an underling of Orochimaru all along that only pretended to be an underling of Sasori.
I'm confused.
So I was
making
making
would have Orochimaru come back at all.
Never have him come back at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you just have Kabuto as the actual successor of Orochimaru then and take it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. That's curiosity.
If you want Orochimaru to come back and be a partial good guy, I guess, so to speak, you need to establish it better at an earlier plot point.
Personally, if it was me, I'd probably have, once Kabuto has been defeated and that stuff, he's been briefly possessed by Orochimaru, who tries one last attempt before being stopped. Now, who to take out Kabuto? Would you have it Sasuke and Itachi, or would you switch it to someone else?
Oh, God, no. I would not have Itachi in this one. Also because you warrant this stupid, like, Itachi randomly runs across Sasuke in the middle of nowhere, and Sasuke decides to abandon all things that he made a decision on just to talk to Itachi one last time, because apparently their previous battle didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point. And what did he learn from that? Absolutely nothing.
Yep. Let's see. So, yeah. So, who would you pick out of curiosity? Or do you have an idea of who you'd have deal with Kabuto?
Kakashi.
Huh. Interesting pick.
I would think Kakashi and Obito.
Okay. Let's see. You wouldn't have him against maybe say like Black Zetsu or White Zetsu or anything like that?
No. Because in my mind, Black Zetsu would be saved for the movie.
Okay.
So you know the whole Kaguya thing that happens?
Yeah.
Well, Madara would be the main bad guy in the original manga plot. And the ending would be him being defeated and then Naruto and Sasuke fighting. And then at the final page of the manga, you see Black Zetsu is still alive. And then, takes Madara's body and uses it for Kaguya's purposes.
Okay. So you would still have Black Zetsu be a servant of Kaguya then, in the end?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. But you have a much more different way of reviving her.
Exactly. She would be saved for the Naruto last movie.
Fair enough. And the White Zetsu, how would you have it taken out? Because he kind of got just killed by Sasuke like a weakling and all that stuff, and it's like felt like a waste given the fact that you had another White Zetsu act like the original White Zetsu when talking to Madara and Spiral Zetsu.
Well, just have him being absorbed by Black Zetsu.
Okay. hmm
Simple, easy, clean.
You wouldn't have him be like the main leader of like the whole White Zetsu final attack thing against the Allied forces?
Well, I
Or,
would, but like leave him barely alive,
okay. Fair enough.
and then Black Zetsu absorbs him.
Fair enough.
And you can make something more menacing out of it. It's just,
That's true.
it's just that instead of just rushing to get Kaguya into the story, you could have saved her for the movie.
Fair enough. Now, as a curiosity, would you have made it just one movie with Kaguya, or would you try and done like a trilogy or something, just so you get a bit more of expansion on her? Because we know after the last, we then had the Boruto movie.
I'd probably just make it a one-off.
Okay.
Really, just have him revive using Madara's body to revive Kaguya.
Uh-huh. And I take it you'd have the members of Team 7 be the ones to take down Kaguya and all that stuff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Would that seem like a better option than just making Madara this all-powerful being, only to then blast him away for?
Oh yes, much better.
That way, you can give Madara his due diligence, and then still have Kaguya waiting in the wings.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can have, say, like, oh, everything has been set into motion. You know, that would be the last thing Black Zetsu says in the manga, is like everything is set in motion. You know,
Okay.
now that the Gido Mazo is free and everything like that, Kaguya has a better chance of coming back to life.
Fair enough. So, as a curiosity, how would you have handled the whole tailed beasts and the ten tails situation? Would you have done the same thing as the manga did, or would you have done it much differently?
Well, I probably have it the same.
Okay. Fair enough. But fair enough. So, yeah, you would pretty much have Black Setsu helping to revive Kaguya with the Ghetto Mazu and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She enacts whatever her plan is for that film. Seemingly killed by members of Team 7 or destroyed or sealed away again, whatever how you want to do
We'll
it.
have the Gido Mazo fused with Madara's body.
Ah, okay.
And then they're like, oh, Madara's back alive? No. And then people will probably be like, well, haven't you did this plot before? Well, yeah. But this time, instead of it actually being Madara, it's literally Kaguya using his body.
Would you have it change into Kaguya's body like the manga did, or do you just have it Madara's like corpse-like body being possessed by a womanly voice? That's terrifying.
I probably started off with having rumors of Madara still being alive, and
Okay.
and the like going after it to try to prevent another war from starting.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like this old lady or something like that to the meet, and then you find out that it's Madara's body, but it's the consciousness of Kaguya. And eventually, after everything gets set into motion, she uses the Gido Madara to restore herself back to the original form.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, fuses Madara's body because he's the only viable at that point. And then after they fuse, it becomes Kaguya.
Okay.
Sort of like an Edo Tensei, but in reverse.
Yeah, I could see it. Mm-hmm.
And then this way,
Well,
you don't have this weird reveal, like this weird awkward reveal out of nowhere. Which would then be asking, would Toneri be in the story? I don't know.
Would you have it? Let's see. And my guess is if you're only going to have Kaguya, you don't really need the other Tsutskis unless you want to make an entire series of them. But we've seen that with Boruto, and it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Or at least the way that Kishimoto does it. But then again, the Tsutskis could be an entirely different stream.
Yeah. And
Sorry, go on.
it's just that you have to wonder where all these people were the entire time. So Naruto was on the moon watching the body of Kaguya. How did you mess up then?
Personally, if you wanted personally, if I was to do like write in the Akatsuki, you could have made it so that the Akatsuki were once the clan that ruled over the ninja world, but they were betrayed by the Sage of Six Paths. In the last desperate attempt, they tried some of the Ten Tails to destroy him, but he sealed it inside him and all that stuff, and sealed away. And then they created Black Setsu to try and gather the tailed beasts, or at least enough of the chakra to break the seal open to release them and all that stuff, and they exact their revenge on the ninja world that the Sage of Six Paths had created. I know that's the best thing I could think of on the spot. But yeah, that's if I want to include the Otsutskis.
Yeah. No, I think we just need Kaguya and that's it.
Yeah.
You could mention the other ones, and maybe they were all killed off or something. With Hagoromo being the only surviving member
Fair enough.
out of the whole ordeal.
Yeah.
Now you can even make Black Zetsu a kind of shadow of you know.
Sage of Six Paths?
No, his brother.
Oh, okay. That would make a dark twist to it and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. So.
I suppose that's everything you can think of when it comes to the Akatsuki then?
That's everything I could think of.
Fair enough, James. Yeah, that's probably just about everything I can think of. So I think we've come. So from what I can conclude, you've come to the conclusion that there shouldn't be more members, but they're just not used properly.
Yeah, I think you have plenty enough members to utilize. They just weren't utilized properly.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Well, I'm probably to the sense to agree with you, though I do feel like though I do think there could have been some additional members added on later on, or at least associates that we know of that would not appear until much late, or at least hinted at until appear later in the story once some of the members had died. But yeah.
Yeah. Or you could have had them come up in part 1 and be taken out and made allusion to in Shippuden.
So yeah, it's very clear that at least more hints towards the Akatsuki and more hints to their allies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, I guess this is what happens when you have a mangaka that doesn't necessarily plan everything, despite contrary to what he says.
No, and you're kind of throwing so many characters into the mix without exploring them.
Yeah,
and this is Silver Brothers seems cool and an interesting story, but you only use them for one thing.
Yeah, and it's more of a plot device to revive the Ten Tails without killing off Naruto.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, but this is like I said, let's see, the Akatsuki in many ways are an organization that is fine. Let's see, for a small cast of characters, but given the fact that Naruto's is a very large one that gets larger over time, they don't really fit in with everyone there. Granted, if perhaps Kishimoto stuck to more like these guys are so strong that you need multiple people to fight just one member, that could have solved it. I mean, granted, yes, of course, you still need your individual fights with, like, say, Sasuke and Itachi and Naruto against Pain, but like the other ones, you could have arguably had a lot more assistance with. But yeah, And let's see, the other problem, of course, is the fact that when Kishimoto killed off these members of the Akatsuki, he didn't really, in the long term, plan replacements like he usually did. I mean,
Yeah.
let's see, because let's see, okay, Sabazo and Haku one-off shop villains. Then we got to like the Sand and Sound Genin. The Sand would later become allies of the Leaf, of course, as we know. But let's see, the Sound Genin that Orochimaru had amongst Kabuto's group of spies, and like the Genin that ended up fighting in the tuning exams. I will say Dosa was probably a waste, and you know, if I was to like keep him alive for part 2, I think it would have been interesting if he became an Akatsuki member just because he wants to join an organization to go against his former boss. And you could have had him fight Sasuke instead of Dedera and all that stuff during that time, but that's just me. But yeah, but at the very least, when the Sound Genin were gone, you already had the replacement of the Sound 4, later Sound 5, with a brief cameo they had of Ritzy being the barriers with the fellow Kage's fight. Let's see, against the Edo Hokage and Orochimaru. So yeah, you at least had them set up for like the Sasuke retrieval arc bit down the line. And of course you had the Akatsuki set up for part 2. But once most of the members had died, you didn't really have any set up for future antagonists except maybe Madara. And then of course, it's probably also why the Edo Tensei just ended up reviving so many characters because, well, that was the only thing Kishimoto could do at that point.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I still think you could have. Let's see. I still think that Edo Tensei was going to play a role in the stories down the line, really, because, like I said earlier, the Jinchuriki, it's like it's clear that Kishimoto wants to do something with them, but since the most of them are dead, you need to revive them. And the only way to do that is with Edo Tensei.
And I would rather have them fight one long battle and then go down in a blaze of glory than to happen to keep killing them and then reviving them and then killing them again.
Mm-hmm.
That was just dumb. I'm sorry. It was.
Yeah, let's see. On one hand, I get the idea of the Edo Tensei. It's like they summon back the past warriors who are the strongest in history, and you're having the new generation fight them and all that stuff and surpassing them. But we never really got to see that. I mean, we saw that with some of them, like with Sai and Conqueror against Dedera and Sasori, with Conqueror finally able to best Sasori at puppetry. Team 10 against Asuma, okay, yeah, and Gaara against his father, sure. But other than that, many of those types of fights were like either skipped or never done and all that stuff. Like, you had Neji's father brought back, and you never even had him encounter Neji.
Yeah.
Let's see, and then you had Chio come back, and let's see, you'd think she'd end up fighting someone like Sakura, but nope.
And there's not really a point of bringing them back because they didn't serve a purpose.
Yeah. And then you had Kimimaro, and you're thinking, well, there's a few people you could have had. Let's see, granted, he did apparently fight one of Naruto's clones, but the clone didn't seem to beat him in the end, since he only disappeared with the afterlife of Kabuto's release of the Edo Tensei.
Yeah.
But you could have also ended up having him fight, say, either Gaara or Rock Lee, or even like maybe Rock Lee and have a rematch. And this time Lee actually strong enough to beat him. Or even have him encounter Jugo, and that makes Jugo realize, let's see how dangerous the Akatsuki is, and turns on them. But yeah, and let's see. But the fights we did end up seeing, of course, is Ginkaku versus Ginkaku and Kinkaku against Darui and later Team 10, and then Hanzo versus Mifune. Like the most fillerish battle in the entire series.
Oh God! And supposedly one of Kishimoto's favorite.
Yeah.
Wanted to do, and it's like wasting your time.
Yeah, the editors like. In fact, honestly, the editors should have told him to not do it in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. The only reason I think he did that fight is because Hanzo was originally a name of a samurai from a famous samurai from Japanese history or legends. But it's like, okay, it's like, So anyway, now I mean, you have him fight against Mifune, a character no one is invested in, and the samurai are too late of a concept. Now, granted, saying that, I wouldn't mind actually having a member of the samurai, a ronin, if you will, be a part of the Akatsuki, who's joined them to try and destroy the ninja villages who have killed off the way of the samurai, if you will. I mean, that would be a good motivation for a samurai. That's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But it's like Hanzo, who has quite a few people you could potentially have him go against, like a rematch against Tsunade because, well, they fought before, or better yet, maybe even have him against like the new generation of team Sani with like Team 7, mainly Naruto and Sakura. Have them defeat an opponent that neither of their masters could have ever defeated. Stuff like that. But yeah. Oh yeah. At least that's when I think when it comes to thinking of Hanzo. But yeah, it's like but anyway, but most of these characters probably shouldn't have been revived with Edo Tensei.
Yeah.
The only ones I can think of really you needed to revive is like the Jinchuriki. I mean,
hell, you could have had Orochimaru and Tsunade team up against what's his face.
Hanzo?
Yeah.
Interesting. Possibly.
Because he was the one that gave him the Sunny name, wasn't it?
Yes, he gave the Sunny name to the 3 students of the third Hokage because he survived.
That was the whole point. How you have him fight somebody like we have no real connection with.
Mm-hmm. And you then end up forcing one. And then when you actually do revive him, you have him in such a weakened state that he's no longer a threat. But yeah. But yeah. But I think that's pretty much everything we can now, unless you want to close up some wrapping thoughts on the Akatsuki, and then we can call it a stream.
Well, all I can say is I don't think it was a bad group. I actually liked every single member of the Akatsuki. I just didn't think they were used properly. I think they could have better used their talents and really made something interesting for them. So.
Fair enough. But yeah, I suppose I would have to agree. I mean, on one hand, I still like many of the fights they were in, but but looking back, it's like they could have been used better or longer fights, or I don't know, just more people that are involved with that organization. But yeah. But anyway, James, thank you for having me. It was a very long stream. Perhaps I should have sped up with how the members of the Akatsuki were used in the story bit. That's my fault for the taking time of the sharing screen and all that stuff.
It's all right.
Let's see. But I figured might as well try and use them here and all that stuff. Hopefully the images are fine. I mean, I just took the picture. They're just mainly pictures from my own manga volumes, really. So, which I've edited. But yeah, I'm pretty. But then again, I've seen many other YouTubers use panels from like the manga series, so I should be fine. But yeah.
Well, if not, you just tell people that we're using them for criticism purposes.
Yeah, research purposes, but not for profit. Let's see, but yeah. But anyway, I guess I shouldn't really talk about my insecurities here, but yeah. Let's see. Anyway, I'm James. Thank you for joining me. I am Blue Star Saber.
And I'm James S Cassidy.
And we are signing off. Goodbye, everyone.
Peace.